Okay, nah. So yeah, Abby's here now. So I think my monologue could really stop and the party could begin. So I'm gonna try and add him. Yeah. So there you go. So yeah. Well, anyway, that's my opinion of things. Yes, sir.
Tony, Mr. Tony, good evening.
Yes. I always like to throw salutes. I
How's it
think I
going?
think I'm getting
Happy
close to
weekend.
being a military general. Good to see you, bro.
So,
Good to see you.
good to see you too, big bro.
I've been putting out a nice monologue on your perspective of things, you know.
Perspective, yeah.
So hopefully you'll be able to shed more light on the
Okay.
angles that you look at things from. So to sort of paraphrase everything before you obviously introduce yourself, I was just
Right.
saying that over the conversation that we had, you were saying you were not saying things, but your perspective is that in order for the youth to arise to that position we really desire, to be able to make
Right.
change, we need, and I say we because I'm a youth, yeah, so
The youth, yeah.
we need to position ourselves strategically in sort of ministerial or governmental positions. We can't fight them from outside. You have
From
to
outside.
you have to be inside. And
Correct.
and just in the line of my conversation, I use this analogy where if you want to bring a mountain down with a dynamite, we've all seen it, or if you want to bring a building down with a dynamite, as we all see,
Yeah.
you have to, even though you press the button from outside, you still have to
Correct.
physically drill the dynamites inside the building, and then you go to a
Exactly.
safe place, and then you press explode or disintegrate, and then the whole building crumbles down. But if you don't put that dynamite right inside that building, you know,
Right.
when you
Yeah, I know.
when you press the button, you're the one who would actually be exploding. You know,
Very true. Very true.
which is the perspective I think summarize your whole view of where we need to put, how and where we need to position ourselves over these next few important years of trying to bring a sustainable change and young leadership to our beloved country. I know you as Abby, but you are Abiodun
Bolade.
Bolade. Yeah. So
Bolade, yeah.
that's
Correct.
actually the first time that I heard your surname. So, but nevertheless,
Yeah, everyone knows me as Abic
I'll let you do the introduction
Okay.
yourself.
Yeah.
Welcome.
All right. So yeah, Mr. Abiodun Bolade. You know, I represent Afigio local government in the state of Oyo State. Born in Lagos, grew up in Lagos, and you know, schooled in the UK for a couple of years, and then moved back to Nigeria. You know, to be part of the youth in the governance, to make a change in the governance. So
Give me
that's
1 minute. Let me
basically the introduction.
just close my. I just want to close my window because there's a lot of fireworks coming out from out there.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So you were saying you schooled in the UK for a couple of years. That's when we got to know each other, obviously. Okay, so me, I like playing devil's advocate a little bit. It's not anything offensive. You could cut me along the line. When you were at school in the UK, no one would have known you were at school because you seemed like you were partying more than you were schooling.
Funny enough, let me give you a brief introduction. When I was schooling, I remember, I don't know if you know Wale Player. He does clubs and cover. When I was doing my graduation for my master's, I did a party in the then Legacy. Barlow the dead, everybody was a bit surprised. Say, Abe Governor, you do masters when you graduate from undergraduate. I was like, I couldn't believe it. Wale was like, are you sure it's not fake certificate? I said, now why? So people that actually didn't even believe. So that's why it's always good to, to have like a split personality. Like, you can relate with people on the street, you can relate with people with high intellectual, so it's always good to have that kind of split mentality. So yeah,
Okay,
that
well,
was
come back.
a
So
brief introduction.
you mentioned legacy. So we're talking about your masters would have been about 2010, 2011, round
It was
thereabouts.
2009. I did my master, my PSc in University of Middlesex. Graduated 2005. My master's was 2009, and then PhD University of Lagos. So I'm actually a
Okay,
doctor. So, but
excellent.
leave it at that.
So since you went that far, then you're gonna have to tell us what your first degree was in, what you mastered in, and
Okay,
obviously
my
what
first
you've
degree
narrowed
was
down
in
to.
EBMS. I mean, it was one of the toughest course you could ever do in the UK. E as in E for economics, B for banking, M for money, F for finance. So it was economics, banking, money, and finance. I had to do the combined module, we
So
like
what's
money
that?
now.
That's more than a combined honors. That's a sort of quadruple honors or something like that. If there's anything like that.
Yeah, because I just wanted anything that had to do with money, like this money must be made. So I just
Okay.
had to grab knowledge from both the economic part, the accounting, the banking, and the finance. And
Excellent.
to God be the glory,
So these are things you
graduated.
never
My
say. So we
master's, I
just
did
look
it
at
in
you like, you see, these are things that you never say, that you have that you've worn so many hats like that. But I'm glad I'm the first one to expose this to the world.
So
That's
yeah,
good.
people don't really know, but because they never ask.
Excellent. And then masters was in.
Master's was in business management in University of Middlesex in the boroughs in Hendon in London.
Okay, I mastered in that as well. Actually, I did IT
Yeah.
and then I did this business management after.
Yeah, then
And
I did
then
my
your
PhD
was
in Unilag in
okay.
geography, but I specialized in rail transport and transportation system in Nigeria.
Okay, excellent,
Yeah.
excellent. So your when did you defend your thesis?
Oh, my thesis in my master's, it was managing the transportation sector in Nigeria, but it was majorly in the rail sector. When I
Okay,
did my thesis in my undergraduate, I did it in finance, and my
okay,
thesis was based in a corporate finance in the Nigerian
okay,
financial economy.
okay.
So I
So
was
everything was
most,
based in Nigerian.
yeah, it was basically like, yeah, my thesis and my dissertation
Okay,
had to do with, Africa and Nigeria as a whole.
so it makes sense that you go back there to work.
Yeah, I was like, let's see what we can do for the youth. The youth are angry, they need representation. So I was like, let me give it a try. Even though it's not been easy, but we thank God for everything.
Oh, you're doing well. You're doing well. So, in terms of the when you say youths now, in terms of I wouldn't even say demographic age brackets.
Right.
Are you senior citizen, younger citizen, or older? Not mentioning the actual age, but just in terms of age brackets.
Why in the middle class, citizen in
Okay. Excellent. Okay, so now, all of that. So obviously, you've achieved quite a lot before you got to even within the bracket that you are, age bracket that you are, you've achieved quite a lot, and I want to commend you on that. So currently now, all that being said, what do you actually do, like sort of right now as it is?
Oh, currently I moved back. I started working for the government in 2012. So I'm a civil servant by career, and as a civil servant, we're like expectorate of the office. Civil servants were non-political, as the English people say, it's apolitical. It's characterized by, permanence, anonymity, neutrality. In the sense that, let me break it down for you. In the sense like permanence is like we're permanent civil workers, like officers. Come rain, come shine.
What do you actually mean by what do you mean by permanent? I don't get it. Because you said
permanent
career-wise.
Yeah.
And then you're now saying permanent.
So I'll break it down for you. It's like, the Nigerian, they follow like the federalist kind of government, whereby just the same way as the American system, whereby when you work for the executive arm of government, whatever party is in power, Republican, Democrat, Independent, civil servants are permanent. We're there until retirement age or 35 years of age, 35 years of service. In terms of
Sorry,
animosity.
can I just put you? Is it contracted that you must serve a certain amount of years? When
No. You can retire at any time. It's not contracted. Okay. Yeah, but I mean, a government cannot change, and they will not start saying they want to sack or retire civil servant. That's why I said it's permanent, based on you're working for any government in power. So we're usually not political. That's why I called it permanent. And then anonymity, in the sense that we work behind the scene. We're not meant to be, heard or seen or anything, but we can still give our own personal opinion based on an individual, not based on the actual government's performance. Then neutrality, in the sense that you have to be neutral, just like in any democratic society. You're neutral in terms of you're not going to be political. No political affiliation. I mean, you can retire. I'm not even going to lie to you. I'm going to tell you an honest truth about this anonymity and neutrality in service. Most legislative arm of the government, as the politicians, they came from the executive part of the arm of government, which is we, the civil servants. If you look at it, go back to Amechi. It was a civil servant before he became, the governor and minister. Dogara was a civil servant. The former Speaker of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Honorable Dogara. Honorable Babangida Ali, former Niger State Governor, was a civil servant for 35 years before, he became politically affiliated. So, but when you're neutrality, you're apolitical. So that's like the definition of like a civil servant. And as we all know, every government has their own, ideologies and policies, which is a government can come in power. The policy might be different from the ex-government in power. Just for instance, when Obama left in America, I'm just trying to give a comparison so people will understand. Obama has his own policy, his healthcare policy, immigration policy, blah, 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 blah. Trump came, from a different political party. He had his own policy. But as career civil servants, even in America and in Nigeria, they still have to abide by the rules. Like, we execute the policies, whatever government's in power. So that's why we stay neutral and we're apolitical.
Can through the civil service, because judging by what you're saying, we're talking about civil service from a federal,
federal point of view,
federal perspective, not on the state level. Could you conjure together and sabotage the effectiveness of a ruling party or a ruling government?
Not the ruling government, but the ruling party, which is the head of the executive arm of the government is the president. And it's usually called the presidency or the administration, as they call it in the Western world. So we're not really affiliated on a state level. On the state level is based on the state government, but we are like federal executive. So, in any democratic country is the executive arm of the government, just like we have the legislative and the judicial arm of government, same way as we have the executive arm of government, which is non-political. So that's when I said permanence, anonymity, and neutrality.
Okay.
So that's just a brief definition of, the kind of work we engage in. So far so good. We're trying to support every government in power, regardless of their policies and ideology.
Okay, just for people like us who are in the diaspora, what are I know civil service has different levels. What are the different levels or different grades? Because you hear,
in a federal civil service, there are 3 arms of the federal civil service, like the executive arm of the government, which is the main ministries, the hardcore ministries, just like, say, Federal Ministry of Defense, Federal Ministry of Agriculture, Federal Ministry of Transport or Finance, or whatever you want to call it. In America, they call it State Department of Commerce, State Department of Transport, State Department of Homeland Security, which is immigration. So that's the way it is. That's the main ministry. Then we have the department, which are like the departmental, like the sub-department. For instance, in like Federal Ministry of Finance, let me give you a finance. The CBN is like a department under the Federal Ministry of Finance. The NIDC, Nigerian Insurance Deposit, is, you know, is regulated by the main ministry. Then we have the agencies, which are like under the departments. So in a federal civil, you know, executive arm of government, there are 3 arms in the executive, which is the core ministries, the departments, and the agencies.
So what would be an example of the agency that would be under the core ministry?
Okay, let me give an example. Like an department, let me say, for instance, Federal Ministry of Transport. We have the rail service, just like in England. You have the rail, you have the land, you have the air service. So, like for the rail service, we have the Nigerian Railway Corporation, which is the NRC, is regulated by the core ministry. Like the minister is like the figurehead. Then they have their own MDs or EDs or whatever that is the department and the agency.
Yeah.
Another one is like the Nigerian Port Authority, the MPA. You know, is headed by an MD, but they still, you know, administered by the Minister of Transportation.
So do all the states individually come under that one umbrella of the whole Ministry of sort of Transport?
No. Okay, let me break it down. I see where your point is going. So let me explain to the audience. Like, to be a federal ministry, like a federal staff, like a federal civil servant, you have to.
That's what you are, a federal.
It's like allocation. Yeah, federal. So that's why I want to give it to you.
Yeah.
So every state, depending on the geographical settings, like each geographical, I might say Lagos State, you are qualified for 100 people per year because of your geographical section. Kano is more popular. They can say, we gave Lagos 100, we're giving Kano 150 slots. So each state in Nigeria, they have allocation, which is given through the state government, which is the governor in quotes, is the head. So you go into the federal executive as a representative from your state of origin. So for instance, if I'm from Lagos State, I'm not from Lagos, I'm from Oyo State, Afijo local government. For instance, if I'm from Lagos State, I have to go via the commissioner for Lagos State in the Federal Civil Service cadre. Meaning, when I enter the federal government, the executive arm of the government, I'm always being whatever issue I have to go to my state commissioner. So there's each state commissioner from the 36 states that represents the federal staff, which is the federal civil servant, on a federal level.
Okay. It makes sense. Okay, so no problem. But I just want to break it down so that people could,
but there's a difference between a federal civil servant and a public servant.
Okay.
People don't get that. So if you're not in government, you think civil servant, public servant. What's the difference? It was even actually one of our exam questions, which we did last year when we were doing promotion.
Okay, so quickly give us.
So people didn't even know this. So let me just break it down. Like I said, a civil servant is a career officer. Come rain, come shine. You're employed through the Civil Service Commission, which is the federal FCSC, Federal Service Commission. Whereas a public servant cannot be a civil servant because you're employed directly into the ministry or the department or the agency. So you can get fired tomorrow. E.g., the DAs, which is the department and the agencies I was speaking about earlier, they are civil servants and they are public servants, not civil servants. So they can be fired. Your MD can come tomorrow and tell you in MPA or in CBN, you're fired. But we, that were
public
civil servants.
No, go ahead. No, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, go on.
I was going to say public
servants work in the departments and agencies, not in the main federal core ministries. That's the difference. Okay. But we as civil servants, we are also public servants. You get it?
No.
I'll break it down for you. A civil servant is a public servant, but a public servant is not a civil servant because a civil servant is employed directly into the department and agencies, whereas a civil servant is employed through the Civil Service Commission of the Federation, like all these head of the Federation, secretary to the General of the Federation. So we're answerable to the head of the Federation, not to the MDs.
Okay, so you guys have in simple English now. You guys have two sides to the coin. The other person just has one side.
Exactly. And for we like us, the civil servants, we can do secondment to a public servant post. Like, for instance, now, if you're working in like maybe DOD, State Department of Defense, Federal Ministry of Defense, you can go, they can post you to an agency under defense. Or let me give you an easy example. If you're working in Federal Ministry of Finance, if you're tired of working in finance, they can post you to CBN because it still is an agency under the main ministry. But somebody from CBN would not be able to be posted to Federal Ministry of Finance because he had a direct entry into that agency. It's like a contract when you get a job like a private.
So okay, so what's the criteria? So yeah, explained perfectly well. So what's the criteria to go into being a federal civil servant?
The criteria, there's nothing. You just have to have you have to be a BSc. It's not funny enough. Even if you have an OND or a diploma, there's a certain grade you start from, maybe grade 4, grade 5. But for a BSc holder or an HND holder, higher national diploma, you start from grade 8. But you know, Nigeria, there's politics. Some people can start from 10. Some people can start from 14. So
what's the highest grade in the civil service then?
The highest grade in the civil service is level 18, which is the permanent secretary of the ministry. That's the number. In fact, that's the number 1 career officer in any ministry. Is only guided by a ministerial appointment, which is the minister that administers. But it's the core civil servant that
So okay, so just last question on this, and then we move. So the minister of transport, the minister who is appointed into that sector, maybe transport or works like Fashola or Amechi, right under them is the permanent secretary to that ministry.
Yeah, in fact, the permanent secretary is the number 1 because the minister cannot even sign something without, because a ministerial position is a political appointee.
Yeah, political.
Based on a 4-year term.
Correct. And you just mentioned earlier that you guys are permanent. So yeah.
Yeah, we're permanent. Well, we political appointee. Tomorrow, the president can go. The whole ministerial, the next government comes in. That's why I said we're always. That's why I said the 3 things: permanence, anonymity, and neutrality. That's the 3 core guidelines.
Excellent. That's. I said this would be a lesson teacher. So obviously that you did that well. So moving forward, political biases. Have you got any? Since you're now in there, your whole idea of this change that we want is you have to be in there. You have to be in it to win it. You're in it already. Have you started leaning towards any particular political party, political mindset, political bias that people who are not in there cannot relate to, and so you see things differently because you're in it and you see how the whole thing operates?
Oh yeah. First and foremost, as a career civil servant, you have to be very careful of what you say.
Well, I could push you to where I want to push you to.
Secondly, we should know that it's social media and internet never lies. I might say something today, it might come back and bite me the next 20 years. So you see, I learn. I lead from example. I learn from example. So the mistakes all these past civil career officers or politicians or judiciary they've made is you have to watch. Like Boris Johnson always says, not Boris Johnson, Tony Blair. I've watched over 100, that's the former prime minister. I've watched over 100 of his interviews. He never says a yes. He never gives a yes or a no direct.
Okay.
Because he knows.
So we move. So you've given us a good answer on that. So again, obviously I invited you because, I shouldn't say I invited, we decided to have this conversation because you have a different perspective to most other young people who we all are going through the same thing. You know,
Right.
we're all facing bad governance. We're all being brutalized by police. We're all, you know, having to deal with lack of just general amenities. So, you know, the whole thing still, the whole rain is still pouring on all of us, if I put it that way. But
Right.
because you were there, you look at things in a more perspective, in a more different, from a more different perspective, and you're still seeking this change that we're all seeking
100%.
Yeah. So a few weeks ago, the whole protest uproar, I should say, you know, happened, and you knew that everyone is fighting for a just cause. It's not just a useless cause, regardless of whether it made impact, whether it's been now swept under the carpet, whether the government is now suppressing it or not. But we know, we could all come to a common conclusion that what we were fighting for at that point in time, even if there was more to it, but that little bit that, you know, we tried to push forward was well overdue. What is your perspective on that whole process?
You mean the NSAS perspective?
Yes.
Okay. I would start by NSAS was a protest that began because of the police brutality in Nigeria. It was like a social movement and like a mass protest against police brutality in Nigeria. The initial intention was to abolish the SAS. So now, let me now break it down for you. The SAS is the Special Anti-Robbery Squad, which is a unit in the police division. I'm going to interject, I'm going to interlink what I said about civil servants and public servants. I'll give an example with this SAS thing. I have a friend, I'm sure he's coming live. He's an EFCC official, is a police officer attached to the EFCC. So when people are talking about this NSAS thing, I want them to be very, very clear that it's not even every police officer that wanted to join that SAS unit. I have a friend, he's here, and you know, I'm not going to say his name because, you know, people will just run away. EFCC, oh my jackpot. Well, yeah. So, you know, I one time I asked him, I was like, bro, this NSAS, what do you say? He said, even me, myself, I was seconded. Are you listening? Seconded from the police to the EFCC, that's the Economic and Financial Crime Commission, which is an agency. But you can see the way it's interjected. A police officer is a public servant. And it's, do you understand? And it's, but they seconded him to EFCC. So now they were going to return him back to the police force from the EFCC. It's just like the State Department of Defense or the DOD in America. You have the military and you have the civilians that still work. That's the way the EFCC. They have the civilian side. They have the, you know, the police, the forces side. So the guy said, Omo, I cannot go and work in SAS. So this was like 2-3 years, even before this NSAS started. He was like, governor, I cannot work in SAS. I said, why now? Say, are you making money from me? He said, it's not even that. That SAS is like a cabal. Even among the police force, it's like a cabal. So it was like, if they post me to this SAS, I'm going to call my father, call Magu, and tell him I am not going to. They can post me to any other division under the police if they don't want me here. But I'm not going to SAS because he gave me an instance, and a live instance. I have a friend who was a SAS officer. He's in Okafor. He's an American now. And I'll give you the story of the guy. He was a SAS official in Lagos Command. But I think because he had good intentions for SAS, it's just like one good apple among, do you understand?
What spoils the whole rot? One bad apple
spoils the whole rot. Do you know one day they went for an operation or whatever happened, you know, he went against his unit. And they said, hey, you are the one doing Mr. Good Guy, Mr. Good Guy. There was one day in Ikeja in Maryland. What's the name of this hotel? Sheraton Hotel in Maryland, in Lagos. Turning into, you know, there's always a police checkpoint. He was off duty. He was driving, and guess what? They shot into his car. Police. He
For no
stopped.
just
They
reason.
knew him.
He
Those were
didn't
his
stop.
Eh?
He didn't stop at the checkpoint.
He did stop, and they knew him. It was like his colleagues, and they told him to go. You know, he flashed his ID card, whatever. You know, as he was going, they shot into his car. The bullet hit his girlfriend, maybe girlfriend or wife or whatever, but the female that was sitting in the car with him. And the girl died before he took the girl to the hospital.
Wow.
And this is a department, not even a department, this is the area, the unit he works with. It's like you're working in borough, maybe you live in Barnet now. You know the whole officers patrolling Barnet, they know you one-on-one. But just because you're always doing the Mr. Good Guy, I don't like this kind of thing you're doing. He knew the people that did it, but the guy was like, oh my, I can't do this thing. And let God just bless me with my American visa. Blah, 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 blah. And, you know, the guy left. So I still speak to him once in a while. I was like, Papa. He was like, Ogabe, Omo. Na car wash I did do now for America, but I'm happier than leaving that SARS unit because I've asked Oga to post me away from SARS, but they said, no, I'm not due. And these people wanted to kill me because they knew I was against the kind of operation they do. So at the end of the day, when people were talking about this NSAS, fine, majority of them, I don't know, but majority of them could be the bad eggs. But people like the youth should understand that there will still be a few good ones amongst them. I'll give you a live example. I can't remember, but a couple of years ago, during Christmas, I was stopped at gunpoint in Lagos, so this time in Ikeja. Me and my friends. They were like 2 or 3 cars behind me. They seized 4 cars, armed robbers. At gunpoint, and there was police checkpoint too. The armed robbers were at one side. They were collecting people's car at gunpoint in Ikeja. My friends were in the car. Even my friends were behind me. Because they quickly turned around. But my friend in front, they seized the car, my car, and 2 other people we didn't know. Just at that, we even thought they were police checkpoint. We didn't know they were armed robbers. So, you know, my car got collected. Me, I was even drunk. I was trying to fight as a roadman now in London. I'd be like, whoa. The alcohol was there. I was like, my friend was like, Governor, you want to fight somebody holding a gun? Exactly. I got married that you don't kill yourself. I didn't know what I was doing. So they seized the car. And what did I do? I was fortunate enough to know the head of the SARS operation, which was Abakiari. It was the OC SARS Lagos Command. He's a very good friend, you know. And it was like 4 a.m. I was coming from the club. So I called him. I said, bros, see what happened though at checkpoint. He was like, I told you don't be going out in the night. Blah, blah, blah. The rest was history. He called 102. I heard every day in the radio. By the time I went to the police station, they told me they have found my car along Lagos to Ibadan Expressway. They were just coming off Lagos. Maybe they're taking my car to Ibadan or something. So you see, sometimes these police, they have good intentions. They work. Fine, there might be majority of them in that unit or that department might be bad. But my own take on it is, like I went out yesterday, I saw so many area boys on the road. There was no single police checkpoint. Do you understand? In a democratic, in a law and civil society, just like in the Western world, in London or America or something, but police said they're now scared to do their own job. Fine, we're not saying they are good, because I know they have the bad ones in every organization, even in the private sector. There's always the good and the bad one. So my intention yesterday, I was not speaking to my younger brother when I said, bro, I didn't see any police on the road. I just saw boys saying, hey, ba. So imagine they wanted to rob and operate. That's how they would have, operated. Now there are so many scanty police on the road because they are scared to do their job. So back to this NSAS thing I'm talking about. I mean, it was a good intention, the movement, they cried out to abolish because, they were oppressing the youth and everything. But the protest was later hijacked by this same youth. People will call them youth, so people call them, Lagosians will say hooligans, touts, thugs, kinikon. But at the end of the day, we should know that even the so-called hooligans and touts or whatever name you want to call the people that hijack the protest, they are still youth. You never see a 60-year-old man being a tout in the street of Lagos. Do you get my point?
Let me pause you, because you used one word that I find that I've just struggled with for a while, which is the word hijacked. At what point do you think the protest was hijacked? and we spoke this afternoon, and we obviously mentioned along these lines. In any protest, which we established is called a civil unrest.
Civil
And unrest
disobedience.
means there are going to be, unrest, unruly people behaving unruly, dismantling things, demolishing things. That's what an unrest is. There's nothing like an orderly unrest. Do you understand
Good.
what I'm saying? So when you say hijacked and you use the word hoodlums, who are the hijackers? Who are the hoodlums? And at what point, in your own perspective, because we're not privy to, inside information. We're just looking at things from, from an overview. At what point do you think this protest was hijacked?
I think it was going on for like almost a week and a half. It was the second week of the protest that was a drag that, rumors started flying out that it was like dragged by government tours, with no evidence. Fine, we saw some videos,
What does a protest have to turn into before they could term it as hijacked?
Whereby the protest becomes, disenfranchised by maybe people are just feeling aggrieved. People might not just be like, we've been trying to protest. These governments are not saying anything. They're not saying anything. And the thing changes. So that's the word. That's why I said the word hijack. Because it was a peaceful protest in the beginning, which I was even part of, the youth that stood up to, because it's part of, the foundation of our democracy, right to protest. You get it? But I'm going to derive a point. In every protest, in any democratic society, we have to look at it from two dimensions. A protest is a civil disobedience, which is a legitimate way to protest. But there's no protest that does not turn to a bit of, I won't say violence or, but because it's part of it. Some people will feel disenfranchised, say, there's inequality, there's injustice, it will lead to this disorganized part of the youth that will feel frustrated and angry, and it will lead to a lot of carnage and looting and everything. So
because by the actual word itself, protest, people don't protest if they're satisfied. If you're satisfied with life, you're never going to protest. So there has to be something that you're uneasy about, that you're not feeling happy about. And if you're not feeling happy, is your borderline on angry. If you're not feeling happy, you're borderline on angry. And when you're angry, your emotions are taking the better part of you. Exactly. And then when people begin to aggravate that anger even more, then you're bound to respond. So I don't understand this whole idea of hijack. I've struggled with it because every action brings a reaction. So it's actions and consequences, cause and effects in a way. And that's why I asked, at what point in your own view do you think the protest was hijacked?
Okay, let me break it down for you. I'm not sure. Have you read a book about Good Trouble?
No, but I'll note that down now. Who's that by?
It is about the late, may so rest in peace, late House of Representative John Lewis that died this year.
Okay, yeah, you mentioned it, yeah.
What's the civil rights?
Good Trouble.
Good Trouble.
Yeah, good, yeah.
Because, I mean, during the civil rights, before they passed the civil rights bill in America, I think it was 1956 or 56 or something. He matched with Martin Luther King. And he noted in his book, it was like, just the way we said it, the protest was hijacked. Some people felt the blacks or the minorities in America, they protested, which is normal under a democratic society. The police were not giving it, the government were not giving it. They wanted their voice heard. They wanted to, be part of the society, to be able to vote, voting rights in Alabama. But he said it. It was in the House of Rep for like 40 years. It was like, I fought for the rights of the blacks to be able to vote today. It was all over CNN when he died before the corona lockdown. I think it was February or something. just match. He died this year. So the moral of the story what I'm trying to bring out is, even in a protest, it's like good trouble. You know, once they are protesting, there are some side of people that, like you said, they are very angry, they are disorganized, they are frustrated. It will lead to carnage and looting in every civil society. And note, once we start listening to carnage and looting, that's already like a crime. I mean, the American people call it felony, misdemeanor.
So is that what
So,
you
and
call? Is
then
that what you
again,
term as? Is that, sorry? Is that what you term as the process being hijacked?
yes,
Because
it was being hijacked by this set of people that were angry. They are youth as well.
okay, so I'm just playing.
Maybe they were used by political whatever.
Yes, so I'm
but
just playing.
I don't know that. There's no evidence.
Yes,
But
I'm just
if
playing
that,
devil's advocate, and
exactly.
I'm going to try and incorporate some comments here as well. So someone said, there's unemployment, there's no light, there's no electricity, there's no solution to unemployment, industries, no jobs.
We'll get to that. Don't worry. I would explain everything. I'm just saying, we have like 20 questions.
I know. But we're talking about this whole concept of protest. So people who are going through all this already, they're suppressed, and then you have a government who's suppressing you. Then you have a police who's brutalizing you on top of all of this.
101%.
I don't see how anyone in their right mind. I mean, so before I'm going to say that, but I'll say this. I actually then I'm able to commend those people who went out and just carried placard and say, yeah, enough is enough. Like, I commend them so much. But ideally, in any civilized society, that hijacked will be the first part of the protest. And then the peaceful will be the second. Because if any civilized society that doesn't have electricity, no jobs, government beating them, police... you wasn't here now, but see when... and RMD mentioned this last week. Mark Duggan was shot by.
It was my neighbor in Prairie Lane. It was actually my good friend.
Exactly. Tottenham. People didn't come out to carry placards. People come out, you know, and that was off of the back of the fact that police were just abusing the stop and search powers and brutalizing and stereotyping black people. So at that point where they tipped over and shot someone, people didn't come out to hold placards. People come out that we're coming to deal with this, and which is the whole concept of protest after suppression. Because you're not telling me we're coming to protest under the banner of a society where everything is working perfect. So that way we could be peaceful.
Now let me not interject with what you're saying. Everything you said is fine, but then again, you know, like I always say, people in the diaspora, they look at. Remember, I told you earlier today there are 3 sets of Nigerians. Take it up. People don't accept, but there are 3 sets of Nigerians. There are people, the masses. Those are what we call the less privileged, or whatever you want to call it, masses. Then there are people who are the elite. There's no middle class again in Nigeria. Even in the middle class, they are part of the masses are looking at you. Then there are people like you, Mr. Tony, who are the people in the diaspora. So let me get down to why I'm differentiating. The people from the diaspora look at it from a different point of view. The masses look at it from a different point of view, and the elite look at it from a different point of view. So they have to be like a unified way. You have to look like a unified way of doing things. So basically, what I'll have said, in my own opinion, I might be wrong. Like you asked me earlier, do you think the youth should have approached it differently? Right? And then I said they should have.
And how different should they have approached that protest? Okay, your own opinion.
Like, you know, every reaction, right? Every reaction to every action cannot be emphasized 100%. You can draw up, let me just give an example. You can draw up like a probability chart in decision making. and still go wrong, even in your private organization. That you do SWOT analysis with strong, weakness. At the end of the day, not every business succeed. Do you understand?
Yeah.
The original coordinators of the protest were very organized, which led to the request of the disbandment of the SARS.
Well,
It was approved.
Who were the leaders? There were no visible leaders.
There were no. Yeah, there were no. But I'm just saying that the people that the movement led to the disbandment of the SARS, which was a good thing. The government, succumbed. But what they failed to emphasize was that there is like a dichotomy between the Nigerian youth, between those who that have and those who that don't have. Do you understand? The youths that were disenfranchised are more than those who were well off, which is the masses or Mekuno, what people call it. This cadre of youths were not carried along in the initial plan. So what I'm trying to say is, like, okay, everybody was doing it, like, the educated people, they tried to carry everybody. Because if you look at it, it was most of the average people that came out to protest. Fine, the masses too came out. But they did not, enlighten them that, this is how we're going to do it. Too. But like you said, there will always be civil disobedience in every. So these youths that were disenfranchised, that were not carried along, they just felt, let's take the laws into our hands. And they took over the protest. Hence why you use the word hijack, which was a very bad decision. So everything still was based on strategy. Even if you draw up your probability chart, like I said, you might still go wrong on that your business plan.
Okay, so we get to the point where, as you mentioned, they tendered in the 5 for 5. Mm-hmm. Do you think that 5 for 5 was because so the protest was on the MSARS, and that 5 for 5 dealt with what they wanted to be the outcome of that specific. Mm-hmm. Should I give you? Are you okay? Should I give you a minute or so?
Yeah, go on. I'm listening. I'm listening.
Yeah. So the protest obviously was about MSARS, and what they submitted to the government was. So I'll wait for him to come back.
Yeah, go on. Sorry.
No problem. Yeah. So what? Obviously, they submitted the 5 for 5, which meant they wanted to disband NSAS, psychological evaluation, compensation for all the victims, yada yada yada. But more than that, we saw over the days as the protests kept unfolding that there was more to what the youth were actually asking for than the NSAS. Now, do you think, in your own opinion, that if there was a leader that we could have put all our cases together and then picked out the responses that we wanted from, each of the things that we were agitating about, which in a way would have prevented the government from just saying, yeah, you've given me 5 requests to deal with, here's the answer to the 5. Do you understand? Right. Because if we said, we wanted, as we spoke about, we wanted change, we wanted better electricity, we wanted better roads, this was the one opportunity we had. Knowing that in Nigeria, you only have this chance. It's like one chance. You take it or you leave it. Because before another protest will take place in Nigeria, trust me, it's going to take a long time.
Yeah,
it's going to take a long time. I think the last one was Sub-City or Oil Sub-City or Occupy Nigeria, which we all. So at that point, do you think that we could have put more into the request, even though the end, and again, this all goes down to structure. Like if we had leaders, we could have structured it. This is what we want to protest about today. this, you know, and then we're going to add this to it tomorrow. This we're going to add to it, and then when we start getting response from the government, we're going to submit, you know, our agenda to them that these are things.
Let me interject. Let me interject there. I think a problem I have with the youth. I'm a youth as well, so the problem I have with my people, we the youth, is we do not exercise patience. Some people might argue, let me argue for this. They might be like, I'm been patient enough since all these years, blah, 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 which is a fair point. But then again, as a youth, right, you demanded this 5 of 5. Government yielded. You said you people needed reform in the sector. It touches on key issues like release of the arrested protesters, justice for the deceased victims, setting up independent body to investigate police misconduct, psychological evaluation. You understand all those kind of things? Increase in police salary. I think, you know, all these reforms were overdue. No one is denying the fact that all these reforms is overdue. Because, funny enough, it came up in the confirm during Jonathan's time that they did a confirm structure, if you can remember, about reforms in Nigeria.
He did it. He even gave them money for it as well. Yeah.
So it wasn't implemented, but that is not even why we're discussing. The government yielded, okay, release the protesters or pay the deceased family or set up independent panel. Government yielded. So it's just like a fight whereby you have to retreat. You know, you leave to fight for another day, like the white man says. Okay, government, they've heard you. Fine. Let's give them time. Because let me not lie to you. Everything in Nigeria, there's a structure to it. There's a bureaucratic process whereby, okay, government wants to do something. It cannot be done overnight. There's like I said, there's MDAs. There's the executive that will draw this thing. They will submit it, which is the police executives or police commission or whatever, Nigerian Police Commission. They will set it up. There will be a meeting. It's a gradual process. They'll pass it to the executive. The head of the executive will pass it to the legislative. The legislative will look into it. They'll make amendments, whatever. If they approve the bill, it crosses the reading, they enact it into a law. This thing does not happen overnight. Do you understand?
Yes. But you're talking in a country that things work. Institutions don't work in Nigeria. So
yeah, but
in all fairness, that is the due process. But that
exactly,
process,
just like in England. I mean, you live in London.
Yeah, but that process, me and you both know, is going to be sabotaged down the line. It's not going to go nowhere now. Which really fits, which at that point fits perfectly into what we're trying to talk about. How do we then begin, knowing fully well that any step we take, as youths, is going to be sabotaged because of the political elites in their cabal protecting the nest, protecting the eggs in their nest with their life? How do we begin to think strategically enough, which is your own perspective?
Okay. Let me give you a breakdown before we move into that. You know, that's people's perspective in the diaspora. The same way people came out to protest. Okay, let me give you a real life example about this protest. In the ministry, some people have not been paid salaries for like 2 months. You don't see a federal civil servant. We have the right. We don't have the right to protest under the laws, but we have a right to strike. Just like, you know, the way they strike to the Labour Congress. So we strike, we don't protest. We have a right to strike. But let me now give you one good example. People are hungry, fine. Nigerians, you know, we're hungry. We've not received salary. But you don't see us saying, I pay strike. It was this same people that said they wanted increase in salary, increase in wages and everything for the, you know, for the civil servant. Government yielded after we strike, they yielded. They said, okay, they're going to set up a panel, you know, normal. Now, they've accepted that they will increase the salary. It wasn't appropriated in the budget for 2020. Are we now going to now go and put knife on the government and say, F1 needs salary or something that, and they're telling you, we can pay your normal salary, but this increment, we cannot pay it. And they will now start protesting. Well, the one that we're demanding, we're striking for so. Government has yielded. but they cannot enact it because it wasn't appropriated in the 2020 budget.
But you know, good point, because we spoke about it. But you know that is more to do with the system, and it's totally different from what the masses are expected from the elected leaders. We're talking, I mean, numbers in civil service, probably 2 million in the whole of Nigeria. We're talking of about 200 million people who are being systematically suppressed. You know, and I say systematically suppressed because a comment was there that someone had palliatives for COVID and said they're keeping it for their birthday before distribution. So it's systematically suppressed. It's not like he couldn't pass it out, but you know, systematically, he might again during his birthday he would have given it out. People would think, yeah. But it's neither here nor there. It's a system that doesn't work.
Yeah, but we can make it work. That's what I'm saying. The youth.
So how do we begin to try and make it work?
It's a gradual process. Let me give you an example. No one ever thought there would be a large protest like this, but it happened.
But what would be the benefit of the protest if nothing happens? Because now, by every turning day, that protest is beginning to seem like it did not happen. Leaders are being taken off the street. So-called leaders, even though they weren't visible. So-called leaders that, as the judiciary assumed were participants in the protest, are being taken off. Bank accounts are being frozen. Broadcasting corporations that, you know, fed live feeds. So I heard I think it's the minister for NBC or something. I don't know. Not even the minister. The head of. Head of NBC.
Let me just break it down for you in a nutshell. Right. The NSAS was a movement against police brutality, so that we can move on to the next year. But I want to give you an ideology. The government conceded to all your demands. This ABC on paper, not by law, because people will start arguing. See, you know, government, like you said, promise and fail. On paper, why don't you give them benefit of that? They'll be like, they've been doing it, fine. It's on paper, right? Good.
And now, paper's not worth the words in it.
I know that's what people will say in the comments, which is fine, acceptable. But why don't you give this same government time to implement these demands? You know, in every country, even in America and London, there's a bureaucracy system of the civil service. And before it can be felt down to the bottom, which is the youths in the public, the government has to agree. Do you understand? It has to go through a cadre. So, okay, we want to do this changes. We're going to pass it to A, to Department B, before it gets to the Senate, before it goes down. It's a gradual process. So why don't you give them benefit of doubt? Grad does not do it. If you do grad, they are not doing anything. Do you understand?
I know.
It must pass through the appropriate executive, like I said in the beginning, legislative and judicial protocols. It's not overnight.
But they're all corrupt. They're all corrupt. So it's a system that's doomed to fail. Because, again, prime example. Your representative is dispersed palliatives to disperse to your community. He hoards it. It is doomed to fail. The common man doesn't get it. The head says, oh, we've sent palliatives to everyone. But somewhere along the channel, it's, you know...
Can I ask you a question?
The corruption is embedded.
Let me ask you a question. Yeah.
How do we begin to find integrity?
Yeah, exactly. Now, the representative, which represents, maybe you're from Lagos or Abuja, it's you people that, the same way you people protested. You people can go and protest. Say, Omo, we don't want this person again. We're calling her back. We're recalling her back. Or him or her. Do you understand? This same movement that they did for the NSAS, they can do the same movement. Say, this woman, she didn't give us this, or this man didn't give us this honorable or representative or senator or whatever. There's laws. You can recall people back. If you start protesting the same energy they did in your own constituency, you will call the person back. Even if you don't call the person will feel the heat. If they the youth, they have woken up. Do you understand? Because I'm not going to lie to you. Even if they wanted to end this thing, increase police salary, police reorientation, it goes through the three arms of the government, which is the executive, executive, the legislative, and the judicial protocols. So for you to say one department is corrupt, one department is not corrupt, that's not the idea. The idea is, okay, let's give these people time. Okay, how long do you want to do this thing? It takes 2-3 months, it takes 6 months, it takes 1 year. They have to go through this. Along the line, when they say, now the judicial, no make this thing fly, this bill, protest in the judicial place, you can go protest. If they say it's the executive, go and protest there. If they say, now the legislative or National Assembly, you can protest. It's a civil right. We're not saying you should be disruptive. You can protest. When they see that you are making point that there's news, social media is a true power. There's news that now the executive don't want to do this thing. Now the legislative don't want to do this.
When you want to protest now, and you have people like the Lagos state government saying they're not allowing any form of protest to take place in the state anymore. How do you begin to protest in a place where you know that the minute you gathered, you're likely to be sort of slaughtered or tear gassed or water cannon? How do you begin to, see yourself going to a place where you know everything is working against you, including the police, including the whole system, including they just don't want to see you gathered together. I totally accept your point, protest, but how do you begin to do it in a society that is not conducive enough, that is not even allowing that to take place, because they want to suppress every form and movement that so you being in there or being sort of in there, how do you begin to advise people that gather together so there was a video even going online the other day about, I think it was 2 days ago, about some people saying they still want to protest about certain, and they went to, I think somewhere in Ikeja or so, and they stood in front of Fanika's library. I'm sure some people would have seen that, and only about 10 or 15 of them, and the police came to them with heavy force that we're not having no protest, not whatsoever again. So what do they expect people to do? How do they expect people to get these feelings out? How do they expect people to pass on these sort of concerns that they have over the inability of government to serve them properly?
Now, this is where it gets a bit dodgy, and I'm going to give you a breakdown. A bit tricky. When, like I tell people, when you want to protest, if you read that Good Trouble or any civil right, it might even be Martin Luther King Jr. If you read a book, they tell you when you're starting a protest, definitely it might go south, and once it goes south, you relent, like you said in our conversation earlier. That kind of movement will never come again. So that's why I said when this NSAS protesters, they start organizing this state, they didn't take it two-way. When Nigerians, we take it one way, they will be marginalized. There's injustice, there's this, there's that. So we are moving. When you are moving and you don't get to the finishing line, you can never win the battle, the race. So now, you just said they don't allow people to protest. This protest is the foundation of democracy. But when there's been civil disobedience that turns to this carnage of looting and all these things, they would not. I'm not saying it's against that constitutional right. It's our constitutional right, like Falano said, to protest. But remember, the government still has to protect the institution. So if you're protesting, like I said earlier, if you mark my words, I said they did not carry a certain people along during that protest, which are the less privileged. And the less privileged ones are the masses that they are easily canvassed to start looting. So the people that organized this protest, they did not take into account, it was a good protest, don't get me wrong, with their constitutional rights to protest. But they did not put into account that now Nigeria we deal, this protest can go south. So bad it's lost south. Or this kind of protest cannot. So let me tell you something, in Nigeria, is one of the most populous black nations in Africa. Like, I don't know how many we are, but they said 200 million.
It is not one of, but it is.
Yeah, exactly. So with 200 million people already, Nigeria is like sitting on a gunpowder, like bomb, like you said earlier, before the NSAS protest. So any form of civil unrest, it will lead to a barbaric humanitarian crisis. It will be like a catastrophe. around the African sub-region. Let me give you an example. Rollins died. Was it yesterday or 2 days ago?
Yesterday.
Yesterday, good. I'm going to give you an example. I was having a conversation with somebody from Ghana, and then she felt sad that, may her father's soul rest in peace. She said General Rollins killed her father. I had another conversation with somebody from Ghana. They're in America now, but they're Ghanaians. It was like, if you look at my father's back, he had so much beating. Up to now, my father is like 70 something. If you look at the beating on his back, my father was in the military and he escaped narrowly to America. So these people, they were cursing this so-called Jerry Rollins. I'm sure maybe she's live because she said she's going to come live. She was crying. I called her on video call. She was like, I hope Rollins meets my father in heaven. I was like, why? It was like, I think the father was like one of the, people in power before Rollins came to sweep them and, killed some top leaders. So I said to her, I said, it was for a better Ghana. That's what I said to her. I said, I'm sorry, your dad lost his life during Jerry Rollins, clean out in the administration. So back to what I'm saying. The civil unrest, if it happens in Nigeria, it won't be easy because Ghana is just 20 million people or so. Common Lagos State, more than 20 million, are more populated than Ghana. So when the government do not allow people to protest, it's their civil rights. But then again, you have to look at the flip side. Because of what just happened, the unrest, the looting, the barbaric behavior, which I understand that people are angry, they've been marginalized, there's not been justice for people are dying, they're saying, SARS killed this one, that one. It might be true, which I'm not denying the fact. But then, this government would not allow that kind of civil unrest to happen again. So you can cry out loud that, they're not letting us protest. They know they will be the evil ones among people that if that protest starts again, it will spiral. And Nigeria cannot go into a civil war. Do you understand? If 1 million refugees go enter Ghana, if the thing starts, Ghana economy will fail, let alone the world economy. So that's why sometimes when they don't allow us to protest, I do not really blame the government because there are some set of unruly behaviors, sorry to say, which are the less privileged ones that, they've been disenfranchised in the society for so long. And I don't blame them. Do you understand? To be honest, almost some people feel they have nothing to live for. Yeah, you have something to live for. There are some people on that street that protest. They'll tell you, I don't get anything to live for. I feel that, I feel this. So if the people that organized that NSAS protest did not consider, like I said earlier, those kind of characters, those youths, they had good intentions. But there are some people that now through this good intention, we are going to come under and be disruptive. So for you to not tell me the government will not give you another space to protest, which is your civil right, we are not denying the fact. It takes time. And like you said, if you want to, there are some citizens in America, you want to protest, you have to go to the courts, you collect your protesting rights, you start, but that doesn't work in Nigeria like we know. That's even a different thing. So, you asked me a question that time. You said, do you think the government coming back to you to 5-on-5 demands as it seems superficial of lack of trust? Me, personally, I don't think it's superficial. People might say, governor is trying to be ignorant, For me, education is the key. From this 5-on-5 thing we're talking about, education is the key. I won't say it's just better to educate these young people. Most of the young people are not educated about their constitutional rights in Nigeria. These organizers.
What's the percentage of literacy in Nigeria?
I wouldn't really know, but I know it's higher than the educated. At least I know it's above 50%, or if not 60%.
Illiteracy, not literacy.
Illiteracy. Yeah. It's above 50%. Guaranteed. There are more illiteracy people in Nigeria than the educated ones, which is a fact.
So if the government was doing its bit, number one, there won't be so much unrest. There won't be so much agitation. There won't. If the government wasn't if there wasn't so much visible corruption in all streams of government, every single one, which so to say, the NSAS is the forefront of it. Forget the police brutality.
You know what? I strongly disagree.
Why?
I'll give you. People be like, why? Me, I'm not speaking on behalf of the government or on the youth.
You seem like you are, but we can't go around it.
Let me break it down for you. You know, in the beginning, you've been mentioning the government, right? Now, my question to you is, who are the government? The government of the people?
The elected leaders.
The
elected leaders
are the government. Who are what is the democracy? Of the people? By the people or for the people? Let me break it down.
Textbook definition is like words being written on paper. Yes. Or they say someone speaks.
I want to give you the dynamics of why people are saying the government. Who are the people of the government? There are two people like youths that became leaders. Do you understand? So, and if we, the youths, they are representing, you are saying for the people, of the people, you people are not you're not participating in the governance. And then when the government goes wrong, people will say, this government, why are you not participating?
Yeah, but this is what,
the youth.
Okay, so prime example, you know the phrase we use when we talk, just normal, you're shooting yourself in the foot. Participation. We want to protest. You've told us we can't protest. Why? Because the last protest that we did, we destroyed two things. However, you're the reason why we're protesting.
Right.
So where is the fine margin? Where is the balance between it? And
now let me give the balance between it. I want to give you the balance.
Argument is, if you were doing the right thing, it will all be happy-go-lucky. People, civil servants would have got paid. ASU wouldn't be on strike. Electricity would be there. Good roads would be there. Chairmans won't be holding palliatives. If you were doing the right thing in any other sort of civil society. So yes, I have the right to be angry because again, you tax me, or like 5 or 6 different state tax. You tax me all these taxes. And I'm expecting at least you would charge me for discos, would charge me for what do they call that? What do they call, even though it's meter.
No, let me just break it down for you. Let me break it down for you in a layman's definition. You see, the democracy of the government consists of people that represent you. You see, the youth need to realize something that, like I said to you earlier, if you feel the government are not doing enough, you can participate in that governance. Admission is free. If they don't give you admission, you can protest. Say, me, if I want to join, if it's at a state level or a local level or a federal level, you can participate. But the problem with the youth is they don't want to participate in governance. They just want, we'll be looking at you. If you don't do this, we'll criticize you on social media. We'll do this. You can actually participate. But the problem with the youth do not want to start from the grassroots. If they are entry level, 40,000 naira. Do you understand? Kinematic 40,000 naira. They forget that that's just the basic. Along the line, you can meet somebody that might help you. You can say, this guy is nice. Let's send him on course training. Let's send him on this. You grow up the hierarchy, you grow up the ladder. But the youth these days, they don't want to participate in that government. Then they criticize the people. And do not forget that most of all this government you're talking about, they were youths when they started in the government. They were not adults. They started as youths. So when people are saying the government, like I give you an example of the past governors and ministers and whatever, they were youths when they started. They were in their 30s when they entered this so-called government before they became politicians or leaders of political parties. So at the end of the day, when people are saying government, if you feel your government is not helping you, go to your constituency, say, protest. If they don't give you slots, application is free. I want to work for Lagos State government. I don't like the road happening in Lagos. I want to work in Lagos State Ministry of Transport. Or there's no light. I want to work in Lagos State Electricity, Kinecom, or works and housing. I want to work in Lagos State Department of Works and Housing. Or what's going on? They're taxing us too much. I want to work in Lagos State Ministry of Finance. If they now don't employ you, you now protest. It's only big men children. That way, the government at that state level will see there's a movement. Do you understand? If you protest strategically, that 20 people, protest, even though there's 1,000 slots, we can put, government give us 50 with the masses. We'll put 50 people in Lagos State Finance. We'll put people Lagos State Ministry of Agriculture. We'll put another 20 Lagos State Ministry of Transport. If the youth come together and strategize and say, these people are not helping us, we said we want to go there. There's no way you protest that you want job. People protest on the social media. It's not done. Social media is a powerful tool.
Governor, do you believe Nigerian government has failed the masses? Would you agree? Not even do you believe, would you agree?
That what?
That Nigerian government constantly fail the masses?
I would agree to disagree. It depends.
Well, let me hear your view on this, your disagreeing view first.
People say the government. What can you? Okay, let me ask you a question. What's the definition of a government?
Okay.
So I
don't go. Okay, so I wouldn't contextualize a textbook definition because it's totally meaningless, as far as I'm concerned. Is the actions of the people that you put there as rulers or leaders that I set as my yardstick. So I could put someone. Okay, so you have a group leader, or you have a team, and then you have a group leader, and then you have maybe many other leaders under your group leader, and you just see that your group leader is just ceremonial. But yet, some other people who are down the hierarchy of the team, they're more functional. I could see them, exerting more assertiveness and putting more input to allow us, to thrive and move forward together. They're working on how to unify the team, how to make sure we achieve our goals, how to make sure that, we're all okay. But the person that we actually have at the top is just ceremonial. So as far as I'm concerned, I could say that person there, whatever he says or whatever he trickles down to me doesn't really make no sense until I hear from this person who is there. But unfortunately, when we even look at this whole sort of scenario that I painted, everyone down the hierarchy of this sort of governance that we're talking about in the country that we're in, as you could tell, is they've got a corrupt mindset. So yes, and then you talk about the masses and you talk about the government, and then you ask for a definition of the government. But we only go to the polls to elect a certain amount of people to certain positions. So as far as I'm concerned, yes, we use our vote or our PVC or whatever to elect people. But the people we elect there, we put them there and put them under a constitution and say, you guys govern us, you guys lead us, you guys take us to, our promised land. But in all that you do from the minute you get there is to keep us, where we are, or to even push us a little bit backwards. So how do you now, and then even when we complain, you suppress us. It's like the children, it's like, like the Israelites, when Moses went to Pharaoh to say, let my people go. And he said, it's because you're less busy, that's why you want to go. Okay, these same things that you were doing, you're going to have to do times 2. And I'm not even going to supply you all the equipment that would allow you to function properly. That's what we're facing in Nigeria. Every time people who they say that something's not right, the government say, okay, you're lazy youths. And you made some points, say, okay, people should join the governments. But how many people want to join the government? Some people just want to use their power to vote, put some leaders there. You leaders, we entrust power in you. Govern us, lead us, do the right thing, abide by the constitution. But these people, we can see that they thrive off this absolute power corrupts. They just... So for me, I know you said some valid things, but I would honestly agree to disagree, because I just think it's too much to ask of a common man when you have.
Okay, I think in a nutshell, what you've been trying to explain to me was like, even with this 5 of 5 thing, that the NSAS protested wanted, it goes down that even if the government yields quickly to the demands of this, which they agreed, the speed that which it is going to be bogged down to will be held by bureaucratic bottlenecks, which is what you're trying to explain.
Exactly. Not even bureaucratic bottlenecks, but the bottlenecks of the government sabotaging their own. You can't say you're for the people and then be suppressing the people as well. Prime example, the panel of inquiry. You begin to freeze accounts of people who are in the panel of inquiry, yet you're asking them to give proper judgment. It's impossible. Two or three of the girls who were at least in Lagos State panel of inquiry, one that Rena girl, you froze her account, and then you're asking her to. And then the president comes up and said, "You have the right to protest." And then you said, "Okay, government, you guys or governors, state governors, you guys do panel of inquiries." And they do panel of inquiries. They put part of the leaders in the process of the protest in there, so it could be all inclusive. And whilst they're there, sitting on the panel that you instituted or you ordered them to institute, you begin to freeze their account. You begin to take leaders off the road, and it doesn't make sense.
So like the panel, the panel. Let me get to the panel thing. Like what you said was like, okay, the 5-on-5 thing to set up a panel for the NSAS. The term reference of panel included like receive complaints of the police brutality, human rights, like you said, extrajudicial killings by the disbanded SAS officers. The panel recommended sanctions against all personnel of the police, implicated in the case of police brutality and human rights abuse. But now, like you said, coming to what you said, what will be on everyone's mouth is, would this panel be transparent? Right? Would there be equitable to be able to...
I haven't even got there yet. I'm saying the government even is trying to, if I use your own word, disenfranchise the panelists by subjecting them to psychological, how can I say, psychological torture. Because how could I be on the panel and then you've frozen my account? So, and I'm trying to think that, okay, I want to hear this person's quest. The mindset is a very, the mindset, as they say, is a lonely place. I could make hell of it or I could make heaven of it. Someone's talking to me, SARS do this, SARS do that. But in my head, I'm thinking, shit, this government, they froze my account. How can what's the next move they're going? Anything that I can say is not.
Yeah, I want to bring up like another example to counterfeit what you're trying to say. It's like you're in London, and then you get arrested for illegal activity. The first thing the police would do, if it's for like financial fraud, they would freeze your account. You might go to the ATM one day, you want to put your Barclays. You look at this police just gave me bill. How come my card is not working? You call your bank, Alpha, your account manager, Barclays. What's going on? Is the special anti-robbery or special money laundering, whatever agency in London that freeze your account. Doesn't mean they wouldn't unfreeze it. It's like a judicial process. Do you get my point?
Yeah.
Most of all these people that they freeze their accounts, vis-a-vis, regardless of, it's not even NSAS on other activities, they still unfreeze it. It's like a process. It's a judicial process. We know, yes, some people, they might say government is using it to sabotage, to intimidate, oppress.
I'm sorry to cut you, but I would again, I'll try and stop you because that freezing of the account happened by ex parte order. That ex parte order is meant to last for 14 days. You went to court and you took an ex parte order for 180 days. So again, it's just my own opinion, and obviously everybody has the right to their own opinion.
I'm not a lawyer, but I wouldn't know. I'm just trying to say there's like I said, there will be a judicial process. I don't know about law, but I know even the AFCC, the FI, Financial Investigation Agency, the FIA or the FIU, they freeze accounts. My account has been frozen before just because of 50,000 naira. FIRS said I didn't pay tax. They PND'd my account.
But anyway, that's a more broader picture, to be honest. It's a more broader picture. But okay, so if we sort of just leave that, and then in terms of unity, or in terms of the way the whole protest went, leadership, and okay, so you used hoodlums. So I would assume the fact that so some people say the government sponsored hoodlums, but we all, by the pictures that we saw, obviously I wasn't there, but the pictures that we saw, hoodlums that came into maybe sort of Ikeja, Alausa, Lekki, and all those, they were hoodlums from different tribes, they weren't exactly, you know, indigents of maybe Lagos State or so. Some of them, we saw them being ferried in by bus.
You know, that's why I said education is the key. Let me give you a typical example. During that protest day, I was just driving out. I got caught up in the protest. So I parked my car, came down. I saw those hoodlums. Yeah, they were trying to beat up not the hoodlums, I saw the protesters. So I think they were like fighting with one hoodlum or something that Ele Owadabiba came to scatter here. So I now called one of the protesters, their number one. I said, bro, me, I want to pass. What's happening? The boy, Amune, if he is a thief or is a hoodlum, But you know what? I tried to, de-escalate the situation. This was in Ikeja. When I was driving to Ikeja, I was going up. And I said, that rather than you beating this guy, why don't you educate him? Education is not just by classroom reading. And I said to them that this guy that you said that is a hoodlum, he came to scatter the protest that they were trying to beat him. I said, educate him that whoever sent you or whatever he's doing, maybe it's for you, give him food, give him drink. Is it 3-3 you want to drink? I said, okay, let them buy him 3-3 beer, 150 naira. They gave him rice, mama put. The guy was like, Edmo, Eshio, these people would have killed me, wanting to. Do you know that kind of thing? Even when that hoodlum gets back home, he would think, Omo, you get one Edmo where they drive past, when they block in car, when they want lynch me, now the Edmo save me, Omo, you just talk to these people. Do you understand? So there's a way you can even carry this less privileged youth along. But when you're organizing a protest, and you don't think, and majority of those people are the masses. You get me? Now, it's those same people that you call so-called hoodlums, they're the one not letting you exercise your constitutional right to protest. So when you want to set up a protest, you have to look at the pros and cons. That pros is good, government won't harass you, is your legal right. The cons is once bad they don't enter, now they don't mix, the thing don't scatter. And you're now saying the government is not allowing you to protest. It becomes like a catch-22. Government, they are protecting their own interest. In a civil society, when there's civil unrest, they will call it, they can charge you anything. They can say you're a terrorist. You're trying to be a coup plotter. They are the government. So when you're dealing with the government, you have to do, like I said earlier, strategically.
Okay, yeah, go.
If not, it's just going to be, and let me not tell you the honest truth, about this whole situation. Like, you asked me a question. You said, do you think the Nigerian government, through its leadership setup and apparatus, are deliberately setting out to mislead and suppress Nigerians? I will tell you the honest truth. As a commoner today, the leadership in Nigeria, it has been aged by our faulty constitution. So when you're talking about
it's been what?
It's been aged. Like, there's been an age in the constitution right from the get-go. The constitution has given too much power to the federal government. That's one. And what did they say about absolute power? Absolute power corrupts absolutely. So back to your point. So if people want to protest or want to do whatever they want to do, it's your legal right. But we Nigerians were stubborn. From that protest, it will turn to civil unrest, as we all know. So the government itself will protect their own interests. So if people want to protest, they should protest for constitutional amendments, e.g., electoral reforms. Do you understand? They can list their 5 or 5 on constitution, because you cannot fix police and then you're not fixing the judicial process. You see the judicial people that will interpret the law. When policeman arrests you, he's taking you to the court. So you cannot fix one agency of government and not fix the meaning. It boils down to the bottleneck, like I said. You want to increase police salary, you're not increasing judge's salary or lawyer salary that works in the Ministry of Justice, and you expect them to pass a good verdict. Do you get my point?
I'm listening to you, yeah.
Or you want to increase police salary. I had this joke with a friend of mine in the military. I said there was a circular that was going on. Maybe it was fake news. We're still gonna go on social media. I was like, Colonel, how far now? Come on, I hear say police when they collect, come on, inspector, they collect 300,000. I saw that post flying around. Police new salary structure. He said, come on, my friend, get out there.
Yeah.
Our inspector, we just start police, but they collect money past we will be lieutenant colonel. Now, on fake news and then they mad. Corporal said for military said never. Inspector for military said where has the equivalent rank never collect 300,000. Now must be lieutenant colonel and major salary. You say one inspector, no be assistant commissioner for police. Say one inspector they collect 300,000. I said I know it's fake news. So the moral of the story is you cannot increase one arm of the government. Say you want to satisfy or you want to rehabilitate the police, increase their salary, and not fix the other arm of government. There are so many agencies, over like 3,000 agencies in Nigeria. So for we to move forward as one, I believe the youth or whatever they call themselves should go for constitutional amendment. It's not going to be an easy run, but
would you? I know it doesn't fall in line with any of the questions, but could you because as far back as I could remember, I can't remember one. Can you ever remember one? You probably might not be because I can't. But could you remember just one thing that the masses has been able to change in the 60-year constitution in Nigeria? There hasn't been.
I don't think so.
That's the precedence. And it's not like we haven't complained. It's not like we haven't protested. It's not like life hasn't been lost. But the government are just too rigid. This is what I'm saying. Like once they get there, it just becomes a rigid structure. Nothing changes. So there was a question that was asked at one point, like for all the successive I'll say government, but leaders that we have, name one project that's under 60 years old that we could boast of, that we've completed, that's not colonial, I can't say the word, colonialized.
Colonialized.
Name one. There's none. And I'm
not really.
One project that we could be proud of. So yes, the real, we could say the real. I know
there is now. There's been there is now. There is. People don't do the research. Education is the key. I always tell people you can be a doctor. Huh?
Which one?
I'll give you an example. There's the rehabilitation of the rail in the 3 regions of Nigeria.
That rail. Sorry, I don't always bump in, but I'm sorry. But that rail technically is not ours. Yeah, these people could come at one time and begin to take off the infrastructure at any time.
No, but because the loan does money, so it's ours. Huh? It's like any country can take loan to develop or build a facility. Okay. So you can give them credit for that. They did it.
Even though as time goes along, we're not going to be able to pay to service the loan, but that's a topic for another day. But they did it. So we have to give credit to them, at least, Okay. So apart from that, what else? We haven't got a national airline. We just managed to. In fact, we had tons and tons of national airlines. Well, maybe 2 or 3, and they were all sabotaged. Even interstate travel by flight, it literally just came to its fore over the last 10 years. And we're a country of 60 years old. All the roads that we have, every single thing have been left. They're part ways from the British who colonized us. There's really not one thing. I'm not talking about building. We have excellent edifice. We have the tallest hotel. We have, best... a proper infrastructure that the masses could benefit from and be proud of. I'm not talking of trader money. I'm not talking of all these things that the end means is for the person who's sort of made it to get the compliment in his own. Even a national airport, we barely have one. Is that what we call, you know? So for me, but again, it's just my opinion. It's my bird's eye view. It might not
but
count.
you know, like I always tell people, a
So
million
someone
miles
said,
gonna begin.
someone just said, "There's nothing to show but Tinubu's bank account." I didn't say that, but I thought I thought I'd just read that out. But nonetheless,
Yeah. So I mean,
so in a way,
like,
so sorry if I've just pushed a little bit forward. So in a way, you disagree that the government has failed Nigerians in a way, put it that way, because you've talked like you've talked on more on their side of the coin than not, and I respect that. But again, my job is just to try and present at least two sides of the coin as best as we possibly can. I'm not saying the government is bad, but you know, I would like to bring to the forefront what just the common man see. Okay, so as you put it,
let me. I think the honest truth, I'll be blatant with you. The honest truth, I don't think it's the government. I think it's we, the people. We need to change our mindset. Like, government comes, government go, Nigeria will stay. When people have the mindset of, I'm going to government. When people say, okay, let me give you an example of mindset. And I always tell these people, I always have this argument. Like, people have this mindset that the government has to do so this for you. Fine, they are the government. But when the government do not actually budge, you can, you have to change your mindset. You're not going to go into government thinking, I want to go and steal money. I want to go and do this. People just believe the idea, the mindset is like, government is money. I'm going to give you a typical example of NECO exam that they just started, like the WAEC, the GCSE, equivalent to the GCSE in London. I had not like a cousin or a nephew or something. The guy called me and he said, Uncle Abe, a 14 or 15-year-old boy. And I said, Uncle Abe, on my bere NECO Lojo Monday, which was just this week. And I said, okay, good luck. When is WAEC? He said it's NECO than WAEC. I said, okay, good luck. And guess what the guy said to me? He said, Uncle Abe, I'm calling you for 6,000 naira. I said, for what? He said, the invigilator said before they can pass NECO, they have to pay 6,000 naira. So have you seen the trickle-down effect, the multiplier effect, that even if you and I go in government, there's always this mindset that some people are that Ele want government, this one want government, even if they have good intentions. But the mindset that we Nigerians have already needs to change. Is not okay, just like you said about the palliative, they distributed the palliatives, the people that they distributed it to the governors or whatever, they didn't distribute it. But people say it's Buhari's fault. How is that not Buhari's fault? Do you understand? It's the mindset of the people. And when a 16-year-old or a 15-year-old boy,
sorry,
when a 14-year-old boy that has the mindset of I have to bribe my teacher, I be my invigilator, 6,000 naira for me to pass my NECO.
How does
that mindset change? Am I going to blame the child, or wouldn't it be the lecturer or the invigilator that told them to bring that money to the exam?
I know. But my question is, how does one person change in the midst of a clique that is totally corrupt? You can't. Is impossible for that person. We spoke about swimming against the tide. You can't swim against the tide. If the whole set is corrupt, when you go in there, you're just going to, you'd actually become part of it. It's impossible, because the minute you want to let your integrity sort of speak for itself, then they begin to suppress you or sabotage you or probably even kick you out. So as a prime example that you gave, where somebody now said something is 3,000 and they has to now start paying, someone doubled the price. It might not just be because of him, We have police on the roads that we all know that the 200, the 300 that they collect, it's not for go. It doesn't go into their pocket. At the end of the day, I don't know, but there's been several times where they say the money goes back to the station and they share it amongst themselves. You know, so
Anyway,
I mean,
I understand perfectly, but the youth, especially the youth in Nigeria, we need to change our mindset.
but the mindset is changed.
Have the mindset of affected the logo. We want to do business. We want to do this. We want to do that. Do you understand?
Yeah, but isn't this because of is all because of the environment now?
That is what I'm saying. So exactly. So the youth, you cannot blame government for everything. It's like, government this, government that, government this, government. Was it government? They gave them palliative. They distributed it down to the state level, 36 state governorship. Now people will say it's Buhari that did not give them their palliative. How is that? Is it not the mindset of the leaders in the individuals? I'm just saying for an example. Even if the government had distributed it to the local government, all these old warehouses, they were in different local governments. So is maybe the senator or the whatever representative of that local government that still kept it. So it's still the mindset that trickles down to the bottom, to the 14-year-old boy telling you, uncle, you must give me 6,000 because I must pass my neck or my wire. Do you understand?
It's the environment. It's the environment that changed them like that. So how do you begin to have conversations with someone whose mindset is so corrupt? They say the average mind is developed by age 7. Everything else after age 7 is your own personal development. Do you understand? So so your mind is set. You know this is right from wrong. But everything up, so right from wrong, up to age 7, then 7 to 14 is like something being put in a petri dish. You know, when they do the experiment, when you put something in a petri dish, and the culture, they say the culture around it. So the culture around it is what makes that the whatever you put in the petri dish conform. It conforms to the culture around it. So obviously 7 to 14 or 7 to 21 or 7 to he becomes chairman, the culture around him has made his mindset conform to the level of corruption. How do you begin to change that?
All right, good. That's where the question comes. I don't buy the ideology because there's some people, even in India, let me give you an India, they grew up in the slums, but they still became one of the best people in this present world, this continent. They have one of the best doctors, the best IT analysts, but they grew up in a corrupt slum environment. But they still made something out of it. So we cannot really blame it on the environment, that because my environment is good. There are still some less privileged people that they became successful in life. So you're not going to tell me because the environment is corrupt, I'm not going to make anything out of it.
I'm not saying that, but how do you measure the level of success in a society? If Nigeria, by indices, is one of the world's poorest country, how do you begin to measure the level of success? There's obviously something that's going wrong. It's not that we're not good at agriculture, and we were at least 2016 or 2014 or so, we were the 4th or 5th large oil producing nation. What's happening with all of that? How do we begin to address the fact that all that money? So between 1960 to now, I heard like all the leaders has squandered about 400 billion. If I'm correct, it might even be more, but I think that's what I just heard of, out of the grapevine. 400 billion oil revenue money. And then we have an ever-increasing population that's just exploding by the day. So it's really difficult. That's why I ask, in your opinion, has the government failed us? Because the government they're bound by constitution. At least that constitution was made so that Nigeria could thrive. And when people are using twisting the constitution, twisting the judiciary, twisting the ministries, these are just my own personal opinions. It's not.
Let me give you like an example why I would say the fault lies both with the citizens and both and with the government. Reason being, like I said earlier, the constitution, it needs to be unbundled. if we want a governor or government to function, what we the citizens, should be democracy for the people by the people. The first thing they are meant to advocate for is constitutional reform. The power is so centralized about it with the federal government, like I said. Absolute power brings absolute corruption. If the constitution was amended, whereby it's unbundled, they said, okay, like decentralized kind of system, dissolution of powers will almost immediately correct the leadership anomalies. Let's see how the old policy will play out in the next couple of years.
It would, but how do you begin to have that conversation in a society that doesn't even allow you?
That is where the youth need to get their priorities, not the youth, the citizens. If okay, we want to advocate for constitutional reforms, i.e., this is protest we're doing. It's not even NSAS. We want constitutional reforms because you cannot fix NSAS police and you have 2,900 and something agencies that so-called we Nigerians think they're corrupt. Then it's like you're fixing one thing in 3,000 things. It's not going to work. Like there are 3,000 organs working. 2,999 are bad, and you're only fixing one organ from the 3,000 organs. It's like a waste of protest, waste of movement. Because the people that will correct that abnormality in that police reform, I say the police, the panel, the this, and it's bottlenecked. So at the end of the day, if people really want to feel, we want this. If people say we want this change, we want this, we want that, the first thing they should protest or advocate for is a constitutional reform whereby there's dissolution of power to correct the leadership. The unbundling of the constitution will bring power and resources down to local level, which is down to the local or not even state or local government. If they unbundle the constitution and say, reach the local government. I think that's what Jonathan tried to do one time. They didn't allow him. There was like all this federal allocation. Oh, I'm not going to be giving state governor. I'm going to be giving each local recognized local government, because there are some states that they say the local government they created is illegal. So in Nakwalava, like Lagos State. But if they actually did that, say unbundle the constitution, okay, this money is going down to this local government. It's not distributed to the governor, where governor will go and give his local government something. Because wherever, it's just like America, there can be a governor from Florida, there can be an attorney general that is a Democrat, the governor is a Republican. There can even be the city councilor that is a Democrat in every state. Both political parties are in the movement.
Do you think
so that way, because power is decentralized, a governor could say because it will look like my Anthony General not be APC and PDP or the local government.
Do you think the government of the day, whatever government of the day, respects the Nigerian constitution?
I wouldn't know that because it's less.
Okay, so me, I can ask a question. You don't answer. Okay, because the reason I ask is because we know. Okay, let me not say we know, because then they will say give evidence. It's obvious to the carnal mind that the constitution is twisted and sabotaged to benefit the ruling party or whoever so wants to use it.
That's the same thing we said. I said that's why the constitution has to be unbundled, unpacked. Right. Protest for a constitutional reform. You cannot protest for one thing, which is the end. Do you get my point? It's a good thing. I'm not saying it's not a good thing. But I'm just saying, it's like, okay, you have like, I don't know how many organs you have in a human body. Let's say 100. There are 99 organs pulse in a human body, and you now want to fix just one organ. It's like a wasted effort. Do you get my point? But if you say, okay, oh, this human being is sick, is going to the hospital, and say, you have 100 problems in your body. The first thing, what are you going to do? You're going to diagnose the human body. That's when I tell you, there's something in your head, there's something in your leg, in your chest, your lung, your kidney, your liver.
I mean, that's a perfect.
So that diagnosis in the human body is what we call the constitutional reform.
That's a perfect analogy. But let's come to where we are now. Coronavirus,
right?
Yeah, it goes through the nose, then it obviously replicates itself in the lungs, and then obviously takes hold of your whole body, and then the whole immune system begins to work against you. That's basically what the Nigerian government is. That same organ that is the constitution, they use it to work against the whole body. Do you understand? They use it to work against the whole body. So it's individual organs, which are the masses, is impossible for it to function because the whole body is sort of what's the word? Is constantly being fired at from all different sources via the main organ, which is the constitution. They use it to their advantage. I mean, for me, it's precedence. It's not like something that something that would happen in Nigeria and something that would happen in sort of the UK or in America or so, and you put it on parallel, and you just see that in Nigeria it's sabotage, where you would get judgment, where you get an easy flow, where you would just see the law take its course. In Nigeria, there's always an undertone. There's always an underlying factor where nothing never happens. You picked, again, is not the conversation that we're having, but there's just so much precedent that shows that any ruling party would use that same constitution, wherein, that's where I said, do you think any ruling party respects the constitution? Would use it, whether via the judiciary, the executive, any arm of government, they would use it onto even the police. I personally feel even the police, that is the SARS, that is an offshoot of the police, systematically, because listen, they say the IG collects, is it 300K? I think that was what we came to 300K. He looks all right. All police DPOs, all police commissioners, when you look at them, they all look all right. But how come when you look at just the ordinary surgeons, the corporals, they just look like, and we know the reason why. Because they're systematic.
Okay, let me not interject. Since you're talking about the police now, like, you asked me a question earlier. You were like, do I have faith in the Nigerian police force?
Yeah.
Or the security architecture of Nigeria?
Yes.
Like, I'll tell you point blank, the ability to function effectively as whichever security arm you're working, police or DSS or whatever, Nigerians are smart. Like, we are very smart people.
Yes.
But we have unmatched local intelligence training, defectiveness in the resources, distribution of, police training, vis-a-vis, weapons or whatever you want to call it. Like, we're smart. If they tell us, go and do this training, we'll come out top in the class. Go and do this. Do you understand? Intelligence, IT, we have this. But it's available to them. But, where poverty strikes, crime will become the order of the day. So the real issue here is leadership in the security of police. Let's say police, because we're talking about emphasis. You understand? The leadership, I'm not going to blame, say it's the government, is Buhari. No, it's the leadership hierarchy in that police form. A president, Mr. Tony, if you become a president today, you cannot be everywhere. You cannot be in this department. Yes, you're the CEO of the country. But that is why you delegate powers to the leadership. We have a centralized police force, unlike the Europeans like Spain or Italy, that they have decentralized police. They have local, national, local police for that province, for that borough. But Nigeria is one police we have. So it's the leadership in the Nigerian police that has to be responsible And this has direct impact on the security infrastructure and effectiveness of the police force as a whole in the 36 states. If the leadership of the police is not functioning, firing, people should protest. This IG is not this, is not this. Do you understand? Or if it's not even the IG's fault, it's the leadership in that state. If the police in Lagos State are behaving anyhow, protest, they will remove that CP, put another one. That's how we start. You cannot be protesting that you want them to remove the person at the top. See protest in America. They removed the commissioner for police, was it Minnesota, that retired during that protest. Even George Floyd. They won't say remove Donald Trump because so we are biased in Nigeria. Any little thing, we just blame the leader at the top. It doesn't work like that. It's like ground to bottom leadership. So when something happens, we're quick to judge. Is president's fault. How is it? Is it the president that is monitoring the commissioner for police in Lagos? If there's a problem, people to write memo. Even in that protest, last they'll change that commissioner. People don't complain in this Lagos state for CP. Let's post him away. They are not wanted. Let's bring another one. If we try another one,
these things they don't happen. They've never changed any form of leadership.
That's what I'm saying, because people do not protest the right way. If you start writing,
because they're not allowing people to do it.
Okay, so for instance, like you said, there's a social media is a tool, is a very powerful tool. For instance, if police misbehave in Lagos, if they misbehave in beating people, like all these NSAS people come on social media. In the Anokaja, police did this one. In this one, in BI, in Lekki, bang. There's no way the IG or the CP of Lagos State will not read it. If it now doesn't take action, if people now say, okay, I'm applying a protest. Do you understand?
So where, at that point, at that junction where you are now, I know we all know how many extrajudicial killings happened with these same NSAS all through the years on social media. How come this same IG that you're speaking in favor of now, not I shouldn't use the word speaking in favor, but that you're citing, how come he hasn't been removed? Because there's been, before this hot water spilled out and it started boiling all over the place, there's been tons and tons and tons of live videos of the SARS operating with total impunity and carefree, abusing people's human rights. And it would have got to the IG. There's no way. He's on social media. Okay, forget IG. It would have got to Frank Umba. It would have got to Frank Umba, who's the media person, and he would have been able to pass it on. How come nothing has been done?
Because we don't know what. Now let's go back to the beginning. Remember when I said permanency and I said anonymity. Anonymity is the public do not know what goes on behind the scene. But we Nigerians, as we know each other, you and I, we're quick to judge. They're not doing this. We would just want Pastaforo approach. Fire this guy now. There's a process. They can remove the CP of Lagos, put him to another department. They are not, securing the security in Lagos. People are complaining. Okay, let's take you away. It's just like civil servants. They will post you. If you don't perform in a place, they will post you away and say, okay, maybe this is not your area of strength. Let's post you to another place. They will post you away. So people have to be patient. America, that people are shouting today, they've been existing since the 1783, the first president. It is not overnight. For me, personally, I have faith in the Nigerian police force and the Nigerian police security architecture. If the leadership is right.
Okay. I'm going to ask you two more questions on this point, and we're going to move on. Do you think in Nigeria, every single life matters?
Yes, it does.
Yeah? Okay.
Every life matters.
Yeah, fine. Okay. So here is my second question. If every single life matters, and this question is an offshoot of the first question that I asked, that things that are shown on social media, but the IG doesn't respond. So this question is, you've lived in London for a number of years. At least we met in London. And as far as you and me can remember, there is not one life that is lost to any kind of violence or extrajudicial killing or armed robbery or rape or anything that happens in this country, and one, the commissioner of police knows and doesn't comment about, or two, the prime minister knows and doesn't comment about. There's not one. Would you agree with me?
Yeah, I would.
So why doesn't that happen in Nigeria?
It boils down to the bad leadership, like we said.
But you've just spoke in favor of the IG.
No, I never said. I'm not speaking in favor of. No, I'm saying the leadership comes from, you know, in a management something that some people believe in top to bottom. Some people believe in bottom to the top hierarchy. My own is, I believe in from the bottom. Whatever happens at the bottom, like you said, or guy at the top, which is the CP Lagos Sulabed. So if people are having a problem that this is complain. If you make a complaint, you say the judiciary is not taking it up. This one is not taking it up. Social media, but social media is a powerful tool. People will hear about it. People are like, this is what I'm talking about this thing too much on social media. Before you know it, if they have organized a protest, like, we don't even want this CP.
Okay, so since you mentioned social media, what happens if this social media bill, if it comes in, what's left for the masses?
No, I will still go to the social media. Let's finish. It's a step at a time. So you see,
we can still, it's just a simple question. We can still go back there later, or we can defer it to later, but nonetheless, if you don't want to answer that now, that's cool.
No, I would answer it. Don't worry. I want to take it step by step. So I will still give you on the social media deal. So you see, the trust level, like you asked me a question, you said, what's the trust level in Nigerian government's demographics and geographical lines? Does one region favor the other in government? Which goes down to this leadership we're talking about. You know, and then I said to you earlier, I was like, it's a popular belief in Nigeria that the trusted level of Nigerian government is highly towards the north. People believe is the northern people. They are in power. They are this. They are that. But the question, as a true Nigerian, that you're going to ask yourself is, if this same government changes, for example, to we, Yorubas, in the south, the trust level will swing to the south too, which is very predictable. In Nigeria, it's not a new phenomenon about the political space. Do you understand? Hence, why people say, IG is Hausa, is this, is that, is a normal phenomenon. Do you get my point?
We have
to harness the unity in our diversity for we to move forward together as one Nigeria. If we unbundle this Nigeria, say you're from this region, you're from that region, we'll be able to achieve a lot.
Well, how could you do that when there's so much division between ethnic lines, religious lines, mindsets, the poor and the rich, as you clearly said, no middle class. How is that possible?
Let me tell you. No, can you repeat the question? I didn't get it.
I said, how is it possible to bridge the gap where we all become a unified body or a unified nation when there's so much divisions between the ethnic lines, geographical lines, the Yorubas, the Igbos, the Northerners, where there's a religious crisis, where there's Boko Haram, where there's division over resources and allocations, and even the government, even the governors of each state are not at peace with each other. We're not working, where even the head of each states are not working together as a unified body. So you were talking about how what's that thing that they call this thing? Zoning. Sorry, if I understand you correctly. Yeah. How the leadership is zoned. Everybody's always going to want the zone to roll to their side of the country, because, as you clearly said, the trust in government is for the ruling party. So if it is the Igbos that we will trust when our man is there, then obviously we want that zone to be beneficial to us. So how could we begin to have a conversation, or how could we begin to start practicing steps that would allow us to not even think that, you know, where there's division in our unified body, like where we are just one. We're one Nigeria, even though we're full of a whole different bunch of ethnic groups and different languages. But ultimately, we're one, and as we work towards a common goal, we need to, in order to attain it and achieve from it properly, we need to work to it as one person. It hasn't happened, and it hasn't happened for 60 years. So how's it going to happen in the next 60? How's it going to happen in the new generation? New generation, where, as we spoke back about, from 14 years old, he's going there to think, you know what, I'm going there to make sure that my family is good. So, you know, if there's anyone who...
That's the same thing I said. It all falls back to two things, or let me say three things. The number one is the mindset. The number two is unity. And for we to have a unity as one, that this one is not Hausa, this one is not Igbo, this one is Yoruba, that's what they are favoring. We need to have a reform in our both constitutional and electoral system, whereby any region, if they say Lagos is bringing 2 candidates, it's 2 candidates. If they say Kano is bringing 2 candidates, it's 2 candidates. That way, there will be competitiveness. People that are not willing to go to school or are not willing to do, they will be like, I'll leave you, to catch up. If there is equality around the geopolitical regions in Nigeria, trust me, it will even boost our GDP in Nigeria, our gross domestic product, because the northerners will be like, I have agriculture, I have area base, I want to export. They were exporting back in the days before they did oil now. And most of the exports were coming from the north before they discovered oil. Most of all these rich men, people don't know. In Kano, I've been to Kano before. In Kano, they do more exports in the whole Nigeria, apart from oil and gas. Kano is like an exporting state. There are so many billionaires that people don't even know. There are more billionaires in Kano than in any other state. And where did they get their money from? Agriculture. Before the term oil and gas or natural oil became. They are rich. I used to tell people there are some rich men that are even richer than that Dangote himself in the north that made their money through agriculture. So if there's competitiveness, that this guy in the north wants to overtake me, we still want to do our own thing. The east too wants to do spare parts, want to do men. That way, it will even boost the economy, the GDP of Nigeria when there's competitiveness. So for me, what I believe is, I know it will be very difficult, to amend the constitution. The government is too powerful. It needs to be at least decentralized down a little bit. So back to the EndSARS something. If you people are marching for a moment for EndSARS, it's a good idea. But you cannot change one thing out of 3,000 corruptions. And you're only trying to change one corrupt agency, not even agency, just one unit in the agency. And you expect changes to come overnight. It wouldn't happen. So the youths need to reevaluate their strategy and say, government has answered us on this EndSARS. They've not done anything, but at least we created awareness. So let's create awareness in another form, not in a violent way. It might not even be in a protest. People can just say, want to even speak to federal government, not even at state level. You have people that can facilitate that kind of meeting. Maybe this is points 1, 2, 3. Fine, people believe maybe the government will be slow, they'll be this, but you still have to give it a try. It's trial that makes everything perfect. Rome was not built in a day. America is over 300 years. The democracy is not still perfect, but they are still trying. So for we to have that mindset, like I said, the mindset already, you're already saying, it won't work. You know this, you won't that. So we already have that negative mindset that
it's not negative. I always say there's a borderline between positivity and realistic things. There's just you could speak positive, you could speak positive, but it's just a thin borderline that divides that positivity from realistic. Do you understand? And then if you're talking positivity and you're not real about the circumstances that you're in, then it's just it's borderline sort of, I don't know what I want to call it, but there's precedents that we all know is in Nigeria, long precedents. in terms of positivity, there's a lot of positive people in that. In fact, there's a lot of prayer warriors in Nigeria. If prayer changes things, Nigeria could be, I mean, not if prayer, I know prayer changes things, but you know, if and I wouldn't even say if God is listening, I just don't know. We're all at a stage where we just don't know. And it's not because the masses are not doing their bit. It's the people at the helm of the affairs that are sabotaging. Because look at it. You clearly said there are lots of okay, I've read one comment here who could say Dangote tribes off the same system that you know failed many other Nigerians, which is true. But Dangote is just one. As you clearly said, there are lots of more millionaires that have earned their money legitimately without even being in government. Even in the South, we know so many people that are doing construction, events.
And people should not get it twisted. People should not get it twisted that even every successful businessman anywhere in the world has government policy favors. That's why you have political donors, super PACs, just like even in London, even in America. It's not like it's not corruption. It's just part of the political society, whereby this my policy.
Yeah, we do, but it should be liberal. It should be liberal. One plus one for the gander. It shouldn't just be for one person.
I know, you know, not a monopoly. Like some people would sponsor a political person, they would donate legitimately just because his ideology and his policies would favor their business. That's why you have political donors, which is understandable. But I know in Nigeria it might be a bit different. They like doing monopoly, power, you know. So
okay, so at this point, then, are you saying to me like that for any aspiring youths, as it is, so if okay, maybe you're not saying to me, or maybe what I understand you saying is that any aspiring youth who wants to sort of do well in governance has to sort of, at least at best, start by going into the framework that these old political elites have created, like be in the mix of it.
You have to be in a mix of it. That's the honest truth. Because it's like you're fighting them from outside. It's different from you're fighting them from within. So they have to get within with the process. You cannot just be screaming for 60 years. Government is not doing this. If government is not doing it, you say, okay, stand up. I want to even join this government. Because this government is for the people of the people. So don't just believe you're putting someone there. Fine, everybody's not going to be a politician. Everybody's not going to be a civil servant. Everybody's not going to be a judicial person. But at the end of the day, you can learn from somewhere. There's no harm in learning. Okay, let me even go and learn what they are doing in this government place. I want to learn. Now, why are they doing things like this? Learn the trades of the game.
So what do you think will be the challenges if people even let's even assume we accept all of that. Say, yeah, let's go. What would be the challenges that people would have to face in trying to sort of overcome that mix or that obstacle that I want to
It'll be very difficult now because the area of Godfather has lost. But then again, if they are protesting, not even protesting, then again, if there's a constitutional amendment that from 26 local governments in Lagos, 20 people must come from this local government, 30 people must come. Do you understand? So whoever they want to do the Ojoro, you must be registered in that local government for a certain number of years or born in that, depending on the way they put the law. Do you understand? That way there will be competitiveness and there will be fairness.
But I still believe there can't be. I don't see the government who would do constitutional amendment because I hardly see them do it, especially when they know that it will infringe on their own sort of aspirations to continue in leadership or
I think the question you're trying to bring up is like how can the government bridge the gap between the masses?
I'm not even saying that. I'm not even saying that. I'm saying this is actually an opinion of mine that I do not, because of precedent, I do not, and I'm yet to see the government who would, especially in Nigeria, who would make a constitutional change so that it would favor incoming people. Well, they did this not. I think it was Buhari who did it. Not too young to rule. I think whenever he did that, but that's the only one that I've seen so far that will favor youth coming into the system, or that would allow them to have equal, as you say, nominees or representatives in the same, as maybe those that come from the north, those that come as the same as those that come from south, and those that come from southwest. It's just a personal opinion. I just don't see it happening because it's never happened yet.
But nobody ever saw the process happening, but it happened one day. So a million-mile journey begins with a step. So never say never, because nobody ever thought the kind of protest will happen in the history of Nigeria, to be honest. So we give credit to the protesters when credit is due.
Okay, so I'm going to quickly move on so that we've been here for like almost about 2.5 hours. So
wow.
Well, it's been interesting. So so you said
I think people are saying we're not taking questions, so maybe you can take 1 or 2 questions.
Okay, all right. Okay, before I do that, I'm going to quickly do this. So I'll ask you this, and then you could sort of give your opinion in it, and I'll look at the questions. So I'm saying someone with relative. So we said they have to be in there to be able to start changing things. Someone with no political experience at all. What's the chances? No political experience, but so much potential in their mind, of what they've got. They could visualize the change they want to make. They've got this empathetic spirit towards the masses. They've got integrity. They've got everything. How do they begin that journey into, going into that structure of politics, or that existing ruling party, so that they could begin to make impact to their community?
I believe everyone was born empty, but in life, as life goes on, you learn along the line. So I believe if a young person is vibrant, wants to come out, not everybody will be a civil servant. If you want to be involved in a political activity, you should start from the grassroots. You do not come and job that because I have money, I want to be a senator, or I have money, I want to be a federal representative. No, because at the end of the day, if you go there due to your money, influence, or your power, and you're a youth, you are still going to fail, because you've not learned the ropes. You just got there due to, your financial or godfatherism or something. So even if a youth wants to go there, we encourage them that there's councillor, there's local government chairman, there's ward leader. You can start from the grassroots, but the youth of these days are not ready. Everybody wants to. They are just looking at it and say, I know climb stairs or the elevator. I won't use government. And to be honest, people are asking me that what do you think about a young new party leading a country like Nigeria? Like, it's, to me, I don't even know how I'm going to put it. Like, what I was telling the person, I was like, the youth, these days we're intelligent, we have everything, but knowledge is power. You might have everything, but if you don't have, if you're not knowledgeable about political affairs, global affairs, you will feel you might be good in another department. Just like I said, George Weah in Liberia, he was good in soccer. Everybody held him. By the time he became president of Liberia, he failed woefully till tomorrow. Doesn't mean he's not a good person. Not everybody will be a politician. Not everybody will be a career civil servant. Do you get my point? So, for me, in my opinion, the youth have what it takes to, if they're guided, to deliver superior leadership attributes with the same mindset. The information available to the youth via the internet is way more than what our leaders had when they were running the affairs of the country. When they were youth, that means in like around 20s or 30s. I think, to me or personally, I think what youth need to do is have a good platform. Start from somewhere. Don't have trophy size. Start from somewhere. We know this people, they've been there.
these leaders that were there, they started from the youth, they started from somewhere. That's what people fail to realize. They started from the grassroots. Some started from the middle level. But you cannot just be there and say, "Oh, you're tired of Nigeria. You say want to run for office." You are going to fail. You might be good in finance. Doesn't mean you are good to manage a whole economy or a whole community. Do you get my point? So they should showcase their platform and their leadership's qualities, their styles, if given a platform.
How many generations do you think that would take?
To be honest, I mean, my own personal opinion is, even if the youth run in 2023, they might win one or two couple of seats, depending if they're on the right platform. See, my ideology as an individual, I'm not political, I'm not nothing. If I have a friend, he's in APC, I buy into his ideology and policy, I will support him in, let me say, a local government. If I have another friend, show the local government and he's in PDP, and I see his ideology and policies, his manifesto that is campaigning for his agenda, I will support him. And I think that is what is going to come out in 2023. People are not going to vote for parties, they are going to vote for individuals. It's like, let me give you an example. It's like Trump. They voted him out, but same people that voted him out still voted for the Republican Party. So they voted for people's ideologies and policies, not party. Republicans still flipped over 6 or 7 seats in the House. They still retain all their seats in the Senate. But still, the president of the United States lost, Donald Trump. So I think this will be the situation that will happen in 2023, that they will not say, this guy are youth. We don't care. We'll vote for him, any political party. We can relate to him. If he does like 1 or 2 things, we know where to catch him in the joint. We know we can knock on his door in the office. We can, we can still relate more to the youth than to this our leaders. So based on my own opinion, I believe that's the ideology people have. People I might be wrong, but people might want to say, now youth, I don't want to vote, so I don't care. Maybe youth party, APC, PDP, as long as my youth they there, I'm with him. Do you get my point?
Mm-hmm.
Because we have to be sincere to ourselves. We operate if we want to answer this question, unbiased. In an unbiased way, say, let's be frank. Level of poverty in Nigeria, the political and the electoral process has been monetized.
Yeah.
So speaking as just unbiased.
On that point, so how do we, so that we don't hold ourselves up too much. So how do we begin to protect our votes if it's been monetized, and if we have people who are in the helm of affairs that are ready to use money to secure their own votes?
That's why I said in the beginning, education is the key. I know the constitutional reform is hard. Jonathan tried it in administration. I was in one of the conference people. I went there, I followed my guy, I was writing a report. It's hard. That one is the hardest. We know that. But at least we can still fix little things that will still move the mechanism of the arm of the government at the minimum something. Because nobody is ready for constitutional reform. Let's just be frank.
So yeah, okay.
Me,
we agree on one thing, child.
Yeah, because it will be very hard. We won't deceive ourselves. But we can still fix 1 or 2 things. And if something is monetized in such a way that money plays a key role in an election or whatever, a youth party can only win the election if they have the financial muscle to compete head to head with the traditional parties we have in Nigeria, which is APC or PDP. There are 774 local governments in Nigeria. 774 in the whole 36 states. How will a youth party reach out to 774 local governments, my brother? Let's be unbiased, let's be sincere. There's no amount of money or resources we have. One local government last song, do you know how many wards are in one local government? How do we want to contest and match with 774 local governments? There's no amount of trillions you have. You cannot match it. So for me, like I said, my own personal opinion, whoever wants to run for office, come and do APC, PDP, whatever, CPC, Young Democratic Party, I believe the youth should tag along with existing party when trying to contest for leadership.
Okay. Valid.
Because,
Valid.
eh?
Yeah, go on. Yeah, go on.
Because when these people see, these youths are already vexed, they get angry already. So they'll be like, let me just carry this youth. Let me carry him to my caucus. Another party will be fighting that, let me carry this youth. I think this guy is brilliant, he's vibrant. Let me carry. Do you understand?
So what happens in that aspect where sorry to cut you, where the ruling the political party has its own candidates, and that's got the political mindset of that political. So obviously the youth that we're sort of litigating for is someone who has a renewed mindset, who's not sort of bothered by corruption, who's just going there to be of service to the people. But what happens when he gets to that place, and because of the way the party is structured before, that they only want to put their own people there so that their own people will reward them when they get there, and they never allow. It's a hard decision to make, but I'm just asking, what happens if, because he's going into a party that is existing and is structured in a way, and it has its own people coming through the ranks of things, they never just let this person contest. They never let this young person or this youth contest, and it just begins to be in the system and rolls in the system of that party. Wouldn't it be wise that at one stage he just breaks out and forms his own political party? I understand the fact that.
Yeah, then that's fine. If that's what he wants to do, if they don't give him the platform, then yes. But not saying the youth wants to become president is not possible. Like I said earlier, you can win 1 or 2 constituency, 1 or 2 here and there if you have a strong goal. Fine, that's a process. That's a gradual process. So I mean, if that's what they want to do, I mean, I support that.
If we were ever able to protect our vote, I think we had this conversation earlier. If we were ever able to protect our vote, and we use the tools that were at our hand, maybe technological tools, social media, whatever technological tools we had, and we could guarantee that we could garner the youths together for everyone to vote for this one person. Do you really not think there's a possibility, that a youth could actually win if the system wasn't rigged against him or her?
It depends. Now, this comes down to what I was trying to explain to you. Let me give you in a layman's definition. For instance, okay, let me say RMD, for example, Honorable RMD wants to run for a political ambition come 2023, right? He runs maybe under a platform of APC or PDP, but let me just say he runs under the platform of PDP. Because he's a youth, I won't necessarily call it he's tagging along with PDP. But you see, it's a symbolic relationship wherein both parties feed off each other. Him as a youth that is coming in, is feeding off the existing platform, which is the PDP. Remember, the youth in a big party will be riding on giants, while the old existing party will seem to be youthful and therefore in a better position to garner more followers that are also youthful.
That's key. That are also youthful.
Do you get my point there? You get the dynamics I'm trying to bring, that RMD can join an existing party like PDP. People will be like, he's tagging along PDP. He's not. He's not doing them a favor. They're not doing him a favor. It's like a symbolic relationship. Like they say, 2 people are friends today for political something. Tomorrow they can fight. That is politics, even in the Western world. So I won't call it they are tagging along. Yeah, I'll call it a relationship, a symbolic relationship, whereby the both parties they are feeding on each other, because the PDP know they need youth. Likewise, the APC. So when they see that this youth is vibrant, they will try and lure you into their party.
Hmm.
Then you cannot give them as a hand. If you cannot give me tickets, I go back my youth party. They look like this guy has a clout in this region. Let this guy. How did Yahya Bello enter in Kogi State? It was a youth. He became a governor at 14. But because he had the clout, they put him on the platform. Say, this guy, we respect you. Come. Same thing as Amechi. He was a speaker at 33 before he became a governor. He was a youth, Governor Amechi. But they knew he had the clout in River State. PDP people hijacked him. He became a PDP governor. And he ran on that youth platform. You understand? So people, they feed off each other. That's what youths need to be enlightened. They need to participate. Like, they're talking about voter security. If you're a youth and you don't have friends, or you're not working in like a security agencies that protect the counting of ballot boxes, you just believe your money and your vote will count in African sector, you're not willing to participate in governance, saying the money is too small, Jerry. Let me go and sell my spare parts. Let me go and do this. Let me go and do that. Do you understand? They will keep on writing on you. They'll be like, these ones, they don't have no connection, no this. Their people are not in. Most of all these people that we're seeing today, they started as so they have this bond. Yeah, they might have different ideology, different, policies. By the end of the day, they started. There was a unity before their different ideology. So you now ask me a question again: is how easy or difficult is it to run a country like Nigeria as a young person without any relative political experience? Like I said, Nigeria is a complex society. And as a young person without any relative political experience, you are going to fail woefully. Even running your local government check is difficult because there are so many people that live in your local government. It can be Igbo, it can be Wasi, it can be Yoruba, it can be Hausa, it might well. So already you're running that complexity already of more than over 250 languages in Nigeria with several cultures and religions. Managing this set of people is difficult. It requires deep understanding.
But what understanding do the current leaders have that a new leader can't have?
That a new leader, these current people, they understand that, like all these ethnicity bias, that this guy is from Igbo, he's selling spare parts in Amuwu. There are Igbo people there. They know how to canvass there. They can give them land. They can give them less tax just to canvass them. The policies they give them, it will favor the Igbo in Amuwu that they are. In Mentorr that they are Hausa, they can give them free land. The Fulanis that they are registered voters in Lagos. They'll be like, okay, once you canvass these people, we'll give them less tax on their cow, on their market they're selling in Mentorr. So all these people, they know the gimmicks. But if you're entering a new terrain, you have to learn. So the only way you can learn is from this existing. After a while, you cannot leave them with, thank you, party ABC. I've learned enough. I want to go stand alone and bring my people along. But if you're not starting from the grassroots, or you're not starting from somewhere, you just wake up one day, you would fail woefully. So the youth need to engage in governance so then that they can be of the people. Because right now, the only thing we're doing is for the people. They are representing us for the people. They have to be of the people to practice democracy. So the people said they will engage, join the military, join the governor, join the judicial, join the legislative. If they're a councillor, if they're a youth leader, join everything you want to join. If you're a sportsmanship, do your sport. Entertainer, entertain. Go to your area and your local government, be entertaining them. If you're a musician, your passion is music, you can be entertaining your local government, your constituency people. You don't even have to be politically affiliated. Tomorrow night, the video can wake up and say, I'm from Edel in Osun State. I'm going to play for my people once in 3 months, once in 2 months.
Just to gather that clout.
The other is very easy. If you're a boxer, I can say, okay, I want to do a boxing show in my constituency since this is my passion. That way, you're engaging the youth, you're educating the mind of the youth. Nobody will come and meet them and say, come and carry cutlass or come and carry gun and go and work for the youth. Their mind is getting engaged. I will pay, this one I'm good in boxing. Tomorrow, I can represent Nigeria in World Boxing at the African Boxing Association. He will start training. His mind will be busy. on another thing, rather than one person should just come, I'll give you money, I'll turn to a talk or something. They will engage them. So the youth need to be, the youth need to be educated. They need to change their mindset, number one, and educate and be educated. Because if you're telling a youth to go and do something, and the youth has something to live for, you won't do that thing. It will be like, mommy will first school. Just like us. They cannot come and tell us, say, okay, take 2,000 or 5,000 naira. Do you understand? So we need to educate the youth.
I like
the
point of the grassroots sort of events that you mentioned. I think that because in a country where we agree that there's a major youth unemployment and there's a major level of illiteracy as well, I think anything you could do to engage the youth would galvanize the youth towards you, would always lure the youth towards your side. And part of the questions that we asked before was, do the Nigerian youths, or what's the level of trust from the youth to the government? And I think they're just looking for one person that they could trust. Even when we talk about these hoodlums, before they could get sort of under one person's umbrella, they have a level of trust for that person who they call the hoodlum leader. We all know about the Bloods and Crips, and they say, part of the reason why, that's even far-fetched, the local gangs in London, part of the reasons why many kids turn into gangs is because there's absent fathers. And these gang leaders, they show up as, a father figure for these youths, where they, you want trainers, I'll buy you this, we want train. But the whole idea at the end of the day is so that they could use them for their, sort of evil or their foul plays or whatever, or to distribute their drugs or so. So if we could get to a stage where, for every sort of leader who is aspiring, can begin a local, as you clearly said, a local sort of, function in his local community to start engaging the youths in that community, it would gather people together, and ultimately for him or for her, it would bring a level of trust, so that at least anytime that they say, okay, I want to even do one local thing, people would be like, yes, okay, this person, there's precedent that I know this person, and those kind of mindsets, because they're set and they're focused on one person, it'd be hard for someone to just come from anywhere and just buy it off with maybe 500 or 1,000 or 2,000 naira that they give them. So I really actually like that thing. But whether it would work or whether it could be rolled out is
I
because
think
a hungry man thinks with his belly. He doesn't think with his head.
With his brain.
That's why it's so important to find a way, in my own opinion, again, it might not count, to just shift that thought process away from what you could put in your belly instantly, and allow it to focus it onto a bigger picture, on how you could begin to do things that will sustain you and make you. Yeah.
Like, I'll go back to the youth, something you said. Young people often find themselves marginalized from mainstream politics. They believe, Motikereju, I don't know anybody, I'm so young. From politics and decision making. For me personally, I strongly believe is the culture that has a big role to play in political and decision making. There is like this widespread of conception, of saying the older you are, the wiser in our culture. That's why I said it's the culture. Say, Kilele more, this young boy wants to go to politics, wants to go to government. I'm gonna go and see that. So the mindset, the culture still goes on the mindset, because it's the culture we grew up in, that the mentality that ensures that the youth voice must be heard. Do you get my point? That we have that mindset that no matter how much effective you may seem to be as a youth, the only remedy people think to these anomalies is focus on you, whatever, what you want to achieve, what you're determined. You have to be ready to face the consequences, because people will abuse you. They'll be like, this one is just coming, is a youth. So we have to fight that cultural thing in us, that cultural mindset. Because people, some people asked me, they were like, do you think the political elites in Nigeria are ready to relinquish power to the youth anytime soon? There's a post on my page. I told people that power is asserted. It's not given. It's on my page. Power is not taken, not given anywhere in the world. Same applies here in Nigeria. It's just a different, like you said, a different atmosphere, different environment, a more hostile, according to your word, that Nigeria, they won't grip for, is a hostile country, hostile environment. You want to protect, you belong to. But as a youth, if you want to be in a position of leadership in an hostile environment, you have to go beyond extraordinary measures in order to be able to edge out the status quo. Because we already know, like you said in the beginning, that is hostile, is this. So you have to have in your mind that I'm working in a hostile environment. So I have to go an extra mile, extra step to do this thing. Like, personally for me, my own argument for the youth participation in this political process is aimed on responsibility and audacity. If you dare a youth, like if dare a youth comes out tomorrow, the fire is like RMC is coming out tomorrow, and people like him in his constituency, the fire will follow him. People will come and criticize Mr. This, Mr. That, but it will be a force to reckon with. I'm just using them as an example because they know he's a youth, he has good intention. You can drop the whole probability chart, like I said in the beginning. At the end of the day, you might still go wrong, but why not try? Like Joe Biden said, this was his third or fourth time he tried to become a president, and he actually won. But you see, we youth, when we try something, we just give up. Government will help. Let me go and work. If you're working in the private sector, you become a millionaire tomorrow. This same youth that they're not as smart as you, that you started this government, they're in government now. They can cripple your business that you've grown for over 50 years with just a stroke of a pen. So why don't you try and say, okay, government is not from you. Let me sponsor. Let me do this. Okay. There's this youth who is brilliant. Oh yeah, he will join the military. He will join government. Okay, we'll be lawyer. You go and be a lawyer. Go and be a doctor. Build that unity. So by the time we all grow up together, there will be Judas among one of us. But at the end of the day, even these elders, they are still united, regardless of their political ideology. They still go to party, they still drink together. It's just when it's politics they fight. So we youth, we need to build, but I think there's too much hatred amongst each other with the youth. So if we cannot love each other, this one is driving Rolls Royce, this one too wants to drive Bentley. Do you get my point? And at the end of the day, it's like we're doing competition amongst ourselves. And remember, Nigeria is we're in a polarized environment whereby what we do in the north. Okay, let me give a typical example of this NSAS thing. Back to this NSAS problem. I have a lot of northern friends. So this one is not even politics, it's not governor, it's just like a one-on-one interaction. I have a lot of northern friends. I asked them one day, I was like, Omar, what do you do in that protest and everything? And guess what the guy said to me? He said, when the bandits are killing us in the north, we shout, nobody hears our voice. When Boko Haram were killing us, nobody heard our voice until they did Chibok girls in Zambisa. That's when everybody heard our voice. But he said, we're in the north. They kill us every day, these bandits. Even before it became popular, before they became Boko Haram, it has always been a norm in the north. So it was like, you people should fight for your region now. The people are protesting. The police are killing you. They are assassins in the north, but they don't kill us. And I said, why don't they kill people in the north? He said, because the South people that are killing us in the South, they are your people. How many, go to the South unit and look how many Hausa man would you see in a South unit in Lagos State? And I thought to myself, I said, that's true. Fine, you might find one or two leaders that they are, northerners. But the core people that are doing these atrocities are still our people. Did you get my point?
I'm with you.
So he says, so at the end of the day, you should speak to the people. If people don't like it, speak to your CP. We don't like these SARS people who are killing us. Because at the end of the day, it's still the same SARS Southern officers that are killing Southern people. That's why it's called special unit. They have to be able to relate. They have to be able to speak the language. When they stop it, they'll speak Yoruba. They will speak it to Yoruba back. So he said at the end of the day, the man of the story was like, he said every region has its own problem. So for you people should start crying foul. Now because SARS are killing people. How many did they kill? Did they kill people in hundreds? When bandits come to a village in the north, they raise the whole village. They can kill 300 people. You don't hear that every day in the newspaper. The government will try to suppress that news. So saying it's been happening. So I don't support SARS killing people, but he said it's a regional thing, and if the south and the north and the east are not united, we're just fooling ourselves in Nigeria that we're one. There's no unity. Do you understand? Back to what I said earlier today. I had the same conversation with him about this girl that they said she opened her back, that they would jail. This northern girl. The guy said to me, we Nigerians, we're funny people. I'm getting a northern perspective, because I live in the south, Lagos. So, but if you want to understand Nigeria as a whole, you have to move around and get people's ideology, their method of thinking. If not, they are just thinking as a southerner. So you don't know how. He said, and he said to me, the northern people, they are not ready to learn. They are backwards, and that is us. Me, I schooled in America. Me, I'm learning. But an average or a normal northerner, they are not learning. The only thing they're willing to join is either the military or they do farming. The ones that they are privileged, they'll go into government or the military state security service. That's what they are good in it. And he said, take it or leave it. Northerners know how to play politics more than the South, because this is what we study. This is what is our passion. Igbo people like to do their industrials. They want to work. They want to build cars. We don't blame them. So if you have a passion for something and you do it, then you now start saying we are marginalizing against you. When people were going to abroad, schooling, getting scholarship, we didn't complain. Fine, we know we're dull people. But at the end of the day, the field we're good in is power and politics, and we play very good. So don't start crying foul, whereby when people are traveling to Canada, to China, to learn aeronautics, to Korea, we were studying here, we're studying the political atmosphere in Nigeria. So when people now tell me that these people, they believe that them get Nigeria, I tell them yes, because when you were growing up, you people did not diversify into that political thing. People that grow up, you have small money, you have education in your head, you believe you can bamboozle people for votes. You cannot, because people, they've been there from grassroots since they were born. They have no other occupation.
Well, it goes back to this whole idea of being unified, because therein, as you're speaking as well, even in the context of your words, there's separation along these geographical and tribal lines. And where there's a popular saying, I don't even know if it's scripture: a house divided amongst itself, it can't stand. If we're still, and it goes back to what you said about the mindset as well. If we're still thinking like the person from the north is a Nigerian by pa, the person from the south is Nigerian by color, the person from the east is Nigerian, there's still never going to be one Nigerian. And that mindset, in as much as we want to be oblivious to it, it would always find its ugly way out in our actual. Why are people racist? It's not like because they intend. Well, some of them are. It's not like because they intentionally want to be racist against something.
It's the mindset they grew up with.
But, and as much as you try
everybody was born free. I tell people are born free, but it's your environment and your mindset that determines what you come out as. So back to the saying of the woman that they say they're going to jail. She opened her back that Sharia law, one thing, two things. He said to me, if you go to Saudi Arabia, the law says you must cover your head. You cannot hold hands in public. You cannot marry, blah, blah, blah. He said, when we Nigerians go there, we abide by the laws. So why is it that when you come to the north, you people don't abide by that law? They will not arrest people and say want to do Sharia law. And he said to me that is the culture, that is the tradition. We in the south, we are more learned, we are more exposed to the Western values. Them in the north, they don't want them to be exposed to the Western value because they still want to keep that culture. So you can't not really blame them. People might say it's a bit backwards. That why don't they want to? So they will tell you, why do I have to be exposed to a Western value? That wasn't my value. My great grandfather, Danfodio had Sultan. Father of this. So,
but you see, the problem there is that there's no harm in you wanting to keep to your culture also. But under the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, where everyone has the freedom of expression, of freedom, religious belief, freedom to reside anywhere, wherever they
now
are.
let me now educate you a little bit.
Hold on. I'll simply, obviously, I'm open to that. The Saudi Arabia that you mentioned, theirs is different. Every region, every part of Saudi Arabia knows that they operate under the Sharia law. In Nigeria, it's different. You know,
Why?
So I mean, again, I know they allowed some people they allowed some states to implement it, but who's to blame for that? And then, so what constitution or what law supersedes the other? Is it the federal constitution of Nigeria, or is the Sharia law that supersedes in sub-regions? It doesn't make sense. It's all a mess.
That is where the problem comes in. That's what I'm trying to explain to you, that when they passed the Sharia law, obviously it went through the Attorney General of the Federation or the Chief Justice or whatever. It passed. They didn't just start overnight that Sharia law is Sharia. It must have passed the bill, enacted into law, and we're now complaining that the Sharia law in some part of the country, it didn't just force it on people. It followed a process, a bureaucratic process, before it became a law. So now, if we're not crying foul, crying wolf, that why would there be Sharia law? Why would there be two form of justice? Is a genuine question. That why would there be a two form of judicial system in a federalist country? You should blame the leaders, the all stakeholders, even the citizens. That when they were doing it, why didn't you protest? But we did not care there because it wasn't affecting us in the south. It was only in the north. It's not all northerners that believe in this. There are Christians also in the north. So it's not all northerners that believe in this Sharia law thing. But when we didn't protest, people didn't protest in the north because they were the people that wanted to protest were minorities, and we in the south were good at one thing, that in we don't care. So now we're not preaching for one unity among the youth, among 36 states. They will not be ready. It's like this youth party, they were doing a meeting. I was just in a place in Hilton. I was having a drink, and I saw these people in Abuja. They were talking about youth party, you this, you that, this new youth party. All I heard was, why must the headquarters be in Abuja? The Hausa man was like, now we, I just overheard the conversation, I just, just there, drinking beer. You understand? So the movement has not even started. There is no unity. What we saw in the south, even during the entrance protest, we did see it in the north. All we just saw in the north was people were looking palliative after we in the south started it. But there was no protest. Then there was just poverty that made them to go and look for their palliatives. So at the end of the day, if we're doing a movement in the youth in the south, and we don't carry the whole other regions, it's as good as a failed movement. A youth, like one Hausa boy was telling me, that if not like men are vote the whole south and east, the amount of registered voters in the south, it not reach 50% of registered voters in the north. So if you're looking at it from that mathematics dimension, if we almost, for me to even win, let me try to reach out to my Eastern brothers, my Igbo brothers, my Northern brothers. We do not do that. We just believe the movement is this. Then we now believe that, okay, we'll form a party, we want to implement this movement in the north, when their ideology is different, and you expect them to buy into your ideology, is impossible.
Let me pause. We have to come back on this because it is getting interesting. But I'm cautious on the fact that we've been here for like 3 hours and there's too much knowledge oozing off your off your membrane. So, in all fairness, even though, and you know, as we have, even the questions, there's still many more that we've untouched. So I'll be happy to, whenever you have the spare moment again, I'll be happy to come back and then we could finish this so we could all have a breather. And then I had, because Nigeria, the question
It's a
is,
complex society.
how could youth thrive? And you know, or not even how could youths with relatively no experience rule a complex country like Nigeria? And even by the nature of the conversation, we could all see that it's extremely complex. There's just so many things.
Let me even drop it. There was one Bayelsa woman that was like, Jonathan was from Bayelsa. Why can't you this youth movement start from Bayelsa State? I just laughed. I just walked to your money. I will go. And they were serious people. Like, you know,
Yeah.
they were application form. So I was even thinking that we use that. I would say we're united. We're only united in our local government.
In your local
or in our
area.
state. And we believe, yes, okay, we'll match 10 million people. There's some people that their own ideology, their own policy, their own is different from we in the South. So how do we now? And we don't carry them along. When I say reform party, they should come and join us. They will sabotage that movement.
I think what we need to do is to come back and, in your own way, I know you're a very analytical guy. I could see that you're a very analytical person. And then when you started telling me all your accolades, I just thought, no wonder. And in my own right, as a web designer as well, there are things that we call pseudocodes, which means you cannot afford to get something wrong whilst you're developing a site. Because I'm not talking of sites from templates. I'm talking of coding a site from the start. You have to make sure you dot your I's and you cross your T's on every single thing. And that's how you could get a functioning website. Otherwise, just a single dot somewhere could make everything go wrong. So I think what we should do next, the next conversation we should have should be how, because we've pretty much covered the borderlines of, you know, what all the situation is. I think now we need to be thinking about a workable roadmap that could make this, you know, start to come into effect. And I don't think
I personally believe, somebody asked me a question. It was talking about the social media. So I'll just touch it before we go. But before I talk about social media, because it'll be a long conversation, but I'll just break it up for the person. What the government actually needs to, you know, my own opinion is cut down these extravagant salaries, bonuses, just to at least win the heart of some of the youth. Do you understand? When they say this one is collecting million, this one is collecting, they can still make that back that money by taxes. They can tax us. There's a way the government can still, you know.
But they're denying, even those salaries, they're denying it. Because
I'm just saying, actually, that way, we'll have a, like, my own recommendation is there should be something like a singular act of salary. Say, oh, man, like this, not like this. You believe. Do you understand? But I know it will not work. But at least win back, like, okay, let's cut our salary, let's cut this, let's cut that. But then again, I will speak for them. Why people think they're denying it. Let me break it down to the audience. I don't know how many people are online, but the National Assembly, I don't work there, but I read books and I have people. They say a senator is collecting 17 million. They are actually not collecting that. I'll break it down to you. Maybe when you finish, you can Google what they call NILS, Nigeria Institute of Legislative Studies. NILS, they have over 300 staffs. It's an arm. It's like an agency under the National Assembly. Like I said, ministry, department, and agency is an agency. So, like, they organize the senators, the House of Rep, they do training, they have their own department, but it's headed by the Senate president. So, all this money that they're saying, the senators and all this people, the NAS, the 300 staff, they still get salaries from this money allocated to National Assembly. So, when people stand up and say, one senator is collecting this money, there's a proportion of that money that goes to NAS. All these papers they're printing, memos, everything that they present in the house is NAS that prepare. Do you understand? That prepare the documents, the reading, the paper, the newspaper, the studies, the training. is all organized by Nigerian Institute of Legislative Studies. So when people now say, this senator, their salary is too much, they have staffs. Apart from the staffs they have staffs down to their PAs, their representative and their constituency that they pay salary, that they are part of their pay. I have friends that they tell me that, governor, you people just think we're eating money. Fine, we might see contract from our committee. They might make money. But you see that salary that you people think we're collecting? Almost some of us don't even see that salary. NAS will collect a percentage, which is the National Institute NILS. Your constituency, you have PA or SA, your constituency office, maybe you have like 2-3 staffs. You even have more than 2-3 staffs. You have to pay their salary because those are the people that are heading your constituency wherever state you are. You're in the National Assembly. So it's like if you calculate all these things, that it's not easy. That we Nigerians are narrow-minded. We just believe, you're a thief, you're an armed robber, you work for, they say you're a senator. He says, go and look at, there's no senator that doesn't have AIDS.
That's true.
Now collect money from your money. So if your money is like 1 million, you're paying maybe, I don't know the percentage, but you're paying now. They're deducting your money for the agency that organizes National Assembly. You have National Assembly staffs as well. Normal civil servants that they are not political, that they just work. It's just like people that work in the White House, that they're just civil servants, or people that work in Downing Street number 10. Boris Johnson go, Tony Blair still, they are still career. Do you understand? They still collect money under the Prime Minister's office. Just like people in the parliament, the typewriter, the normal civil servant are working. So you cannot answer them that because they're making money. People need to educate the public, the youth, and break it down to them. I'm not trying to support all these senators or something because my friends will be like, no, you have to be analytical. That they are paying them 10 million or 17 million. He has 5 staffs. He's giving his staff 200,000. He has security aids. Apart from the police, 1 police or 2 police that are giving, he's securing his own life. He employs his own personal security. He's paying it. They're deducting money from National Assembly staffs, from every senator or every house of them. They're deducting money too for now. So the money they allocate will go to the legislative institute. So all this old money doesn't go to them. Fine, the money might still be a lot, but people need to educate their mind that it's not what it seems to be. Yes, they might make money from other form of activity in that their legislative arm. That's up to them, which I don't know about. But the one I know about is the one I see that they collect salary, because I have friends that work in all these NILs and National Assembly members. So people should have that mentality that it's not even the salary. Even if they collect 0 salary, there are other ways they can make money. They can increase taxes in your constituency. Somewhere they can say they are paying 1,000 and increase to 2,000. They are passing this road, they are collecting. So there's a way these people can still even play with your test your intelligence and say, this money they say we should cut, we'll collect it in another way. We're cutting it in A, we're collecting it in B. Do you understand what I'm trying to explain? So
Absolutely.
People should not even think about now like this. Then back to the last question I just want to answer for the people. People are talking about this social media. My friends are saying, why are they trying to cut social media? Why are they trying to do this? For me personally, the internet has played a significant role in the success, I would say success and failure of the protest. And I'll just take it one by one. People will be like, they want to cut it. We have to be analytical. The advantage of the internet was it fostered communication rapidly. People could move rapidly. But on the flip side, this same internet, this same social media was promoting both fake and real news at the same speed. The same way real news was flying, they were doing this, they were doing that, they were shooting. It's the same way the social media was promoting fake news. We know the impact of the positive news. That's based on the adoption of the 5 of 5 enters what they want. And at the same time, we know the impact of the negative fake news, which was the burning and the looting. So at the end of the day, if you look at it on the positive side, it's a good thing. And if you look at it from the government side, it's a bad thing. Because It has to be regulated. I can remember last year I was watching Zuckerberg, all these CEOs of Google, Facebook, they were on Capitol Hill in America. They were grilling them that even American government, father of democracy, they wanted to regulate social media. But when it comes to Nigeria, they want to regulate social media. People will shout, the only weapon we have. They want to take it from us. They want to do this. They want to do that. Because it has the advantage and the disadvantage, which is the flip side of what social media gathered out or the hijackers.
In fairness, it was more to do with how Facebook was using people's data, and it wasn't more about regulation. But again, that's neither here nor there.
So, so the bill that they are passing, that people are shouting. For me personally, as an analyst, I believe, but Nigerian factor might be there. But I actually believe there should be some sort of regulation to curtail the abuse of the spread of fake news on social media.
Who determines what fake news is? What
some people do some posts. They might post maybe something they cleaned them as happened like 5 years ago. They will now post it in recent activity to promote, incite people. So you have to curtail those kind of abuses, because in everything in life, there's always the pros and the cons. And you should also know that fake news can cause civil unrest.
Huh?
Fake news can cause civil unrest, like we experienced during the protest.
Yes, but it's not. It's a very broad conversation about that, honestly.
And finally, in the worst case scenario, in the worst case scenario of that fake news that can cause civil unrest, it can even lead to a full-out blown civil war if care is not taken. Because look at Liberia, look at Sierra Leone. That's how we started. If, and God forbid, if this should happen, if they don't regulate the media or the social media to a certain extent, I'm not saying they should regulate it, over-regulate it, that they will cripple our democracy. If it leads to civil war, if there will be humanitarian catastrophe, and trust me, Africa won't be able to. England
by the actions of the present government, there's already humanitarian catastrophe every day. Like when you migrate through Sahara,
do you understand? So if there's now a full civil blown war, even the Western world, they want to go together. Nigeria, they are the most populated African country. Let's manage you people. Let me give you a last example. Look at Algeria and Tunisia, of a recent example that happened this year and last year. They killed people. The soldiers killed people. We saw it on CNN. We saw it on the whole news, Al Jazeera, when the president, the military leader, let me not call him the dictator, wanted to put his son there. They killed. But what happened? The UN or the United Nations or whatever, they had to come into terms between, we will charge you to international court. You don't kill people. So the best now is drop power, transition something to democracy, or do Agidi will sponsor these activists. They will take you down, and what will happen? We'll carry you like Samuel Doe, like Charles Taylor. Do you understand? So even if people, they know this Western world, they know that it's like, we cannot allow this thing to happen. So it's not like they won't see the killing. They have the equipment, they have everything, but just for unity and peace to reign and catastrophe not to happen, they will still want to hold us together as one. So I think that should be it that should be enough for the night.
Sorry. My battery was going to die. I was trying to replug it in.
Oh,
but yeah, Rob, there's so much more to be said, to say the least. More than anything, it's been your perspective is very valued. Argued your points like extremely convincingly, even though I'm not totally convinced. I'm not supposed to be convinced anyway.
Yeah, I know you're not supposed. It's just opinion. Everybody.
I'm not supposed. I'm liberal. I stand on the fence. Do you understand? I just mediate between reality and illusion. And in all fairness, I do think there's a lot of illusion coming from the Nigerian side of the government, because the reality speaks for itself. You know, it speaks for itself. It doesn't. We don't even have to contend with it. We see it every day, and an offshoot of the actions of the government is what we see through the police doing the reign of impunity on all departments of the police. Because whether it's the SARS, whether it's the checkpoint, whether it's in the police station, all of them, they reign with impunity and nothing ever happens. So it's long overdue at one point that people will get to a stage where they will rebel.
Yeah, very true.
So we're at that point where we are what we are. We're trying to capitalize on what has been on ground, and we're trying to keep the conversation going. And we're trying, most importantly, to continue to educate people that, look, listen, there's better ways of doing things. I extremely appreciate your perspective, and I validly agree with you that, even though some of them I don't agree with, I validly agree with you that you have to be in it to win it. Yeah. Especially in a society
like Nigeria, in our own society.
Yeah. How long it would take you to win it is a totally different question.
Yeah, you're right. You're 100% correct.
Yeah, but we have to be in it to win it.
To win it.
Yeah.
So my advice to the youth is get involved. Any movement. You don't have to just be a political talk or something, or you wait every 4 years. Get whatever little thing. You can be even an advocate. You can be a counselor. You can be a ward administrator. Just get involved, even if it's as civil. See, in Nigeria, I think the problem is we put money over passion and success. People believe, I'm making money in this department, so I don't give a fuck. If you don't give a fuck, the people that give a fuck will come and crumble your business, your empire, your business empire in the next 20 years. You look at, this one is school, you don't know anything, you don't even go to school. You didn't go to school, but you started work early. It's like the white people in Europe. Some people, when I was working in London, my boss would tell me, even if you've gone to university, I just have a diploma, but I have more work experience than you. Therefore, I'm your boss. Forget you have a PhD or something. So, and that is how it works in Nigeria. But people feel they're entitled. I think the youth in Nigeria feel they're over entitled.
Sense of entitlement, yeah.
So you cannot feel entitled to somebody that all his career, all his friends, they're in government. You go abroad, you now come back from abroad, you now want to chance them with your certificate from America or UK or Canada. They will be the one to tell you that now we day here when they go study. Now we don't get sense, but this policy, this governance, we were born in it. So we will rule you people. And they will tell you, you've not had jokes with outside people. They will tell you, Abe, you said now we get Nigeria. And that thing is very annoying. Do you understand? It's very annoying when people say, because even like, Nigeria, there's so many ethnic, background and everything. But when you come to think of it, they are the one willing to work in the three arms of government. They don't care about the salary. Even if they thought that they'll pay them 10,000 naira, they will work there because they have seen the future tomorrow. You might be in an oil and gas company earning $500,000. You'll be like, I'm okay. That guy that is earning 10,000. By the time he gets to the top, is your oga calling the shots, regularizing your whatever sector you are in. So you have to be loyal to it. If not, one policy will mess all your business empire up that you've been building in the past 40 years. And that's how it goes. So we need to be involved. We need to be, as a southerner and as a youth, we all need to be involved. We all need to carry ourselves along. Not I don't care what will happen for Kano. I don't care what will happen for Kano. But election day, Kano results will determine who the president of tomorrow will be. And you're telling me you don't care about Kano youth?
Abe, let me say it's been an extreme delight having you on tonight. I'm telling you,
no problem.
Like 3.5 hours. Instagram has been generous. No cut out. Data has been good. Covered beautiful areas. Again, I'm obviously going to put this out there. Like I do. So what I do, I actually it's here now, so I edit. I don't edit. I just sort of nice it up and I put it on YouTube and Facebook, and then I boost it. So actually, before I boost, just in case you need to tell anyone how to contact you, if you've got anything, you know, like contact pages that they could follow.
Oh yeah. They can contact me on Abigovernor 2023 on Instagram. That's ABBEYGOVERNOR 2023 on Instagram. On Facebook, Abigovernor, ABBEY Governor GOVNOR. And I have a website as well. So I mean, you can always contact me. It's called gencogen.biz, which is GENCOL again .biz. I'll probably just type it here. You know.
Yeah. Put it on the comment and then let me pin it.
Yeah. So you know, you can contact me, and you know, if you ever need a problem or you know advice based on you know civil duties, not civil disobedience. We are more than welcome in our civil duties to give advice. We are working for the people. To give you advice, non-political advice, and you take it from there.
Excellent.
So that's
I'm
about
definitely going to have you back on.
no problem,
doubt,
anytime.
100%. You know, I would let you know in advance.
Yeah.
Because what I'm going to do now, this is like thesis. I'm going to dissect everything you've spoken about. Then I'm just going to come back to you and say,
this is it. If it's social media I want to talk about, or if the movement, you know, I'm good to go.
Yeah. And then I want to say a big thank you, and I'll let you do that as well. There's some people that have stayed for, like, I know it's not easy to stay 2-3 hours on one live, but there's some people that I see has been consistent. Life of the Hendrix.
Shout out to my boy, Life of the Hendrix.
There you go. It's been consistent. Official Money May one.
Money May, shout out. Those are my London connects.
There was another lady. I think it was London, like Lagos. I don't know who that is, but he's been.
We appreciate you. You know, staying longer.
Yeah, thank you guys. There was one more. There was Samuel. Oh, there was another lady. I'm trying to find her. There were loads of people, but I think Richie Mocha. They were there.
Shout out to Richie Mocha. He's been, you know, that's a brother and a friend.
There you go. Then Nnamdi, I can't say Nnamdi Nate.
Yeah. Shout out to Namo. Thanks for, you know, listening, staying tuned.
Yeah, thank you. And there was one. Yeah, there was one more person. I can't find them, but people engaged. Yeah, Fola Lucy. That was the person.
Oh, that's my sister Lucy.
There you go. So, yeah, people engaged, mate. People engaged so much. I couldn't even follow. After a while, you said I wasn't taking questions, but I couldn't follow the comments because it was just going zoom.
Oh, so maybe when you post it online, I'll look at the comments as well.
Yeah. So we really want to thank you guys for joining in. I want to say, have a good weekend. Keep safe. Remember, coronavirus is real. And hopefully, together, little things like this will bring that desired change that we need to.
And I want to also advise you to get involved in governance, whatever. 100%. Not everybody that's going to be a politician, or it's not everybody that's going to be a millionaire. You know, I always tell people, you can give $2 million to 2 set of people. If you're not destined to be a millionaire, you will never multiply that money.
100%.
And if you're destined to, that 2 million, that's why most of the time you see people that win Euro Lottery in London, they can win 2 million, 3 million Euro Lottery. In the next 5 years, they're back to normal life because they were not destined to be millionaires. So I always tell people, point blank, everybody is not destined to be who they're meant to be. You're not destined to be a politician. You're not destined to be a career. Try and support the people that are there as youth. If you see your fellow
not destined to be there, but everybody has a destined part to play.
Exactly. Try and support. Not Omo Okomi. I don't care attitude is the problem. Is the root to our mindset in Nigeria. People are dying. People have died in Lekki. I don't care attitude. My sister, my cousin, not they there. I don't care. Is that I don't care attitude we need to eradicate for we to move forward. So, I mean, thanks everybody.
Thank you, guys. We're going to leave on that note. It's been a wonderful conversation. My boy, Abiodun 2023. Thank you ever so much for joining in. I will speak later. Peace.
Thank you.
Good night, guys. One love. Nice one, Abs. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. God bless.